where we roll high. Big whips, big joints, big blunts, it's the Buckeye way. We rolling nothing but that loud Buckeye loud pack. Let's roll up Ohio. Heavy bass hits, horns rise. Mastamynd Cannabis, Ohio Cannabis live. We here to unite. Let's light it up. Ohio where we roll high. Big whips, big vibes, big joints, big blunts. Buckeye loud for life. From 216 to 614, we keep it lit. 330 and 740, we the ultimate. Nothing but that loud pack, the pride of the state. Roll it up, light it up, let's elevate. From Akron to Canton, Columbus to Dayton. Buckeye buzz so strong, there's no debating. You can see the smoke rise, we shining bright. Ohio loud got us glowing in the satellite light. Ohio Cannabis live, yeah, we here to stay. Uniting 88 counties in a major way. Let's roll up Ohio, let's toke and chill. Big blunts, big joints, yeah, you know the deal. Buckeye loud pack, we blazing the game. Ohio forever, remember the name. Let's roll up Ohio, we rollin' proud. You can see the smoke from space, it's that loud. From the fields to the streets, we feel the thrill. Ohio's the anthem, let's roll and chill. We on a whole new level, Ohio's the vibe. Big clouds in the sky, Buckeyes ride or die. From 419 to 513, we keep it tight. 937 and 440, we ignite. Big joints in Columbus, big blunts in the south. From Toledo to Cleveland, we lighten the loud. Ohio's united, this our time to shine. 88 counties reppin', all on the grind. Put it in a joint, light it and smoke it, Buckeye pride strong. Ohio's the focus, from I-70 to 71 we ride. Ohio Cannabis live, keeping us unified. Let's roll up Ohio, let's toke and chill. Big blunts, big joints, yeah, you know the deal. Buckeye loud pack, we blazing the game. Ohio forever, remember the name. Let's roll up Ohio, we rollin' proud. You can see the smoke from space, it's that loud. From the fields to the streets, we feel the thrill. Ohio's the anthem, let's roll and chill. Ohio, Ohio, let's rise together. Buckeye pride, yeah, it's now or never. Big clouds, big vibes, we set the tone. Ohio's
What's up, everyone? It's your boy Mastamynd here for Ohio Cannabis Live. Welcome back to another live stream. If you're new to my content, please do me a favor. Go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button. Today we're talking about, I hit the wrong title, my bad. Today we're talking about Ohio Advocates Veterans Speak Out Against Ohio Senate Bill 56. Just in a moment, I'm going to replay what was a very, very compassionate testimony from multiple people. So I know there's going to be parts where I'm going to want to jump in. There's going to be parts where you're going to be like, that's my favorite part. But I will tell you that there was 25 people who testified against Senate Bill 56 this Tuesday, February the 18th. And this footage is coming from the Ohio channel. This is public information. You can watch it for yourself. You don't have to watch my stream to watch it. I'm just restreaming it because I know a lot of people have trouble finding these testimonies. You can also look at the written testimony as well. If you Google Senate Bill 56, you will see a website that takes you to a government page and it shows the sponsors. We already know who those are. No need for me to say any names. And then you'll be able to see the written testimony as it's written. Some people may have went off script a little bit. I might have went off script a little bit. You have to read my testimony to be able to see if I went off script a little bit. See, I always hate when there's like little stuff showing up on my camera, man. That's the only thing about having a nice camera. You're like, I see something, and it was like a little white speck. It was like gonna annoy me the entire stream. So What are you medicating on today? Let me know that. I know I might forget to do that sometimes because I want to stay focused now because we are on a mission to stop Senate Bill 56. I just want to go over these things before we get into the stream. Senate Bill 56 is a Senate bill, meaning that it is in the Senate part of the legislature. There's the Senate and the House, and then there's the governor. In order for something to become law, it has to be passed in the Senate and the House, and then it has to be signed into law by the governor. In this case, Governor Mike DeWine. Now, the important thing you need to understand is that there will probably be another committee meeting before this is put up for a vote to move it out of committee. Once it moves out of committee, then it goes to the Senate floor vote, where we don't really know for sure, but we've heard that they've pretty much got the votes to pass this. Um, this will be a devastating blow to the cannabis space in Ohio. I mean, banning sharing, come on. I mean, at the top of the list. Cutting home grow down, top of the list. Raising taxes, not good. Even if they said they took that out, but I don't believe them. I just think they're just going to slide it in under the budget bill with DeWine. DeWine has to do a budget, annual budget, and he's already talking about raising taxes on all kinds of things. Um, so it's possible that this all happens in the budget process, and I don't like it. I don't like it. There's not really nothing, and there's nothing good about Senate Bill 56. I couldn't tell you one thing that is good about Senate Bill 56. Nothing. So at this point, I think that I want y'all to hear testimony. Like I said, it's a lot, but I think you need to hear what people had to say, especially the veterans, especially level 2 cultivators who have definitely expressed their opposition to this bill. Something we all noticed is that a lot of level 1 there were no level 1 cultivators that testified, to my knowledge. I'll have to go back and think about that for a second, but I don't believe so. Maybe, but mostly the people that testified that were cultivators were level 2s. And we had some dispensary owners who were smaller mom and pop dispensary owners try to go out and testify as well. So there was a variety of people that testified, and I think that the testimony itself is enough to make something happen, but I don't know what. And I also, I asked for the town hall, so you'll hear that at some point. You will hear me ask for the town hall. So I've got this all queued up for us. Again, if you're new to my content, like subscribe button. I do this every Friday at 4:20 on the dot. I've been doing this since 2019. I'm trying to be the resource to give people information, let you know what's important as far as the cannabis scene goes in Ohio and beyond. Beyond. Don't think that I'm just going to do everything that's only Ohio. We're going to expand out. We're going to look at what's going on in Kentucky. We're going to look at what's going on in Michigan. I did say that. So don't think Ohio Cannabis Live is deadlocked, because we're not. It's bigger than you think. There's a Michigan Cannabis Live. There's a Kentucky Cannabis Live. It's bigger than you think. So know that it will eventually expand, and the whole network, everything will expand. You'll see different things. I probably won't be sitting in my kitchen. I might not even be the anchor anymore. Somebody else might be a news anchor, and I might just be in the production in the background, like, "Hi everybody, I'm still here, but I'm now not on camera for right now." So that could change. There's going to be more people that come on here on a weekly basis. I'm working on that as well. People coming on here who know what they're talking about, people who are already in the industry, people who are looking to get in the industry, and just people who want to come on here and talk and react to the shenanigans that are going on. And I am calling them shenanigans because they are shenanigans. So, like I said, I've got this queued up here. And this starts out, the lady's going to hit us with her prayer and everything.
Thank you for being here, and those of you tuning in online, we're glad you're watching.
Going.
As I start, every committee meeting is at as we do in the Senate. It's to honor God and country, and so I'll start with a prayer, and then we'll go to the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you bow your heads with me. Heavenly Father, Lord, I just want to thank you and praise your holy name. You are such an awesome and a mighty God. Your mercies are new every morning, and you are just so faithful. Lord, I ask for a blessing upon all those that are gathered here for their safety, for their well-being, and for the committee members, Father. I pray that you would grant us wisdom and discernment for all that you've placed before us today. And it's in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. If you would please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, very good. Thank you. And with that, would the clerk please call the roll?
Chair Rogner.
Here.
Vice Chair Gavron.
Here.
Senator Huffman. Senator Reineke.
Here.
Senator Timken.
Here.
Ranking Member Blackshear.
Here.
Senator DeMora.
Here.
All right, very good. We have a quorum present. I'd ask the committee members to take a minute and look at your iPads where you'll find the January 29th minutes. Are there any additions, subtractions, or changes to those minutes? Seeing none, the question is, shall the minutes be agreed to? And
Okay,
without
now
objection,
I just want to jump
minutes
in
are
here,
agreed.
and she's going to talk about how the amendment's been
we
changed.
take a minute to recognize our newest Senate member, Senator Jane Timken. We're glad you're here with us. Welcome. And then Senator Huffman, as you probably noticed, is not present today. He is part of Ohio Task Force 1, which is down in Kentucky. He is an emergency doctor also, and I just talked to him on the phone this morning. They spent the last couple of days with boats and helicopters rescuing people from the floods down there. He is close to Hazard, Kentucky, and today they're going out with cadaver dogs. So God bless him for his work. All right, the first and only order of business today is a second hearing of Senate Bill 56 to revise medical and adult use marijuana laws, levy marijuana taxes, and of course that is sponsored by Senator Huffman. Before we get into testimony, and we do have quite a bit of it, there was a substitute bill distributed to members of committee, and I will take a minute. It should be
All right, so periodically through this, I may stop this just so I can tell y'all what's about to happen. So she's about to announce these little quick changes they made, which really amount to nothing. So
on your iPad, everybody, but I'll take a minute to explain what the substitute bill does in terms of the changes it makes. First, it ensures any adult use marijuana rules that have already been adopted or are currently pending before JCAR or CSI under Chapter 3780, which is
let me stop and explain some things. She's talking about JCAR. You're like, what is JCAR? What's that? What is JCAR? JCAR is the process they're talking about with the Division of Cannabis Control, aka the Department of Commerce, which used to be the Medical Marijuana Control Board, and it's all Division of Cannabis Control now, or as we like to call it, the DCC, the Ohio DCC. So we don't have to say all that Division of Cannabis Control. We don't say all that. But anyway, they're going through this process, and I was talking about this before. This is about the pre-rolls and all this kind of stuff. So when she's saying JCARs and all that, that's what she's talking about. So just point of reference. Here we go.
initiated statute for adult use marijuana. They would continue to remain effective, and they would transfer over to Chapter 3796, which is formerly the medical marijuana statute. And what Senate Bill 56 establishes as a marijuana control law, both medical and adult use, so it's combining those. Secondly, it clarifies that the current license holders will not need to apply for a new license under the newly consolidated marijuana chapter. Instead, requires the Division of Cannabis Control, or DCC,
To merge the licenses into one single license. So this eliminates unnecessary and
Okay, I don't know why I started going to like chipmunk mode. I had to stop it real quick. We'll start it again. But she's basically saying that they're going to combine, instead of they're basically eliminating medical more or less. That's where this is headed, okay? This is headed to them eliminating the medical because it ain't going to make money for them. It ain't going to be effective for companies to produce lower THC products for medical patients instead of higher THC products is what people want. So remember, Senate Bill 56 wants to lower the THC cap from 90% to 70%, which is where Michigan used to be at back in the day. Everybody's like, their stuff's so much stronger. Back in the day, before the law changed, it was 70%. Surprise, bet you didn't know that fact, did you? I know because I was there. All right, so here we go.
Duplicative red tape. Third, at the request of the Division of Cannabis Control, requires proposed advertisements to be submitted and reviewed by the division prior to public circulation. It also prohibits advertisements from being placed within 500 feet of a prohibited facility, such as a church or a school. It also expands the prohibition on dispensaries being located within a half mile of each other to now be 1 mile from one another at the request of DCC and the industry. Requires a division to adopt rules prohibiting the use of gifts, samples, or other free or discounted goods or services to gain business or referrals.
Okay, now you see how she said that real smooth and real slick, just so you would just glaze over it. Let me break it down for you. What she's saying is that you won't be able to go to a new dispensary and get free pre-rolls like you do in Michigan. You won't be able to get a deal like buy one, get one free. You won't be able to try a sample. Here, we got some gummies here. We experimenting a new product in the market. Here, buy this and try one and get one free. Next time we'll give you 5% off. So basically what they're saying is they want to again make cannabis illegal again, want to make it more expensive, want to make it more restrictive and less fun. They want the fun gone. There can't be no fun in cannabis. It's got to be serious business and serious. And we're going to go ahead and slide in here that you can't give out any samples, any cookies. And by the way, we want to raise the taxes up another 15%. We want to make it the most expensive thing in Ohio. And unfortunately, what I think here is that we need to force the committee to and others to allow us to have this town hall, because at the end of the day, how can we educate the folks here on the committee about what's important to Ohio voters who voted more than the majority to legalize cannabis in Ohio for adults over 21? And as an adult over 21, as an activist, as an advocate, as a patient, as a consumer, as a small business owner, I agree that things should not be available to children or anyone under the age of 18, because if you have a medical card, guess what? You can get cannabis at 18. So really, the legal limit for recreation should actually be 18. Because if you've got a medical card, and you can buy. So it should be 18, not 21. But anyway, and by the way, an adult is defined by someone 18 or older. Let's just be clear on that. So again, my bad for going off a little bit off the deep end, but she's talking about samples and getting freebies like you do up north. We can't have that here if this passes. So mind you, this isn't the law. This is a proposed amendment to the law.
And finally, the substitute bill no longer addresses tax or revenue distributions and only adopts programmatic policy changes given the current budget deliberations. So with that, are there any questions?
Now there's a clue in there. She said the word budget. You see, she tried to say it real smooth, like budget. She's talking about the annual budget. See, that's why. So don't relax thinking. You see what the title says here: marijuana laws levy marijuana taxes. That ain't changed. Don't let her fool you by telling you that they took it out the bill, because they let that for DeWine to put in his thing. See, so pay attention as she's saying stuff.
And if not, the chair recognizes Vice Chair Gavarone for a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move we adopt substitute bill 0611-4.
Okay, we have a motion. The question is, shall the substitute bill be adopted? And without objection, the amendment 0611-4 is adopted.
Notice there was only one other person that had a say so in that. You see what I'm saying? You see how decisions are made. I'm showing you how decisions and laws are made. This is how they do it. There's only 3 people on this committee right now. Everybody else is not there. So here we
All right. This bill was indicated to receive testimony today, all testimony, and I will begin by calling up those offering in-person testimony. I'll read out several names first so that you'll know where you are on the list. I would respectfully request, just given the number of people that want to testify today, I've got at least 25 that are here in person, that you try your best to limit your comments to 3 minutes. We will not have a timer on you. It's just out of respect for everyone that's sitting here today. If you could try to keep it condensed, that would be fantastic. So the first several witnesses we're going to call up will be Tim Johnson, then Don Holztrager, Anthony Riley, Gary Daniels, and Eric Whitted. So is Tim Johnson here? Welcome to committee. And you may begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Well, with an amendment, I think a couple of us will probably veer away from the tax thing then and deal with that in the state budget. Check. Yep, I'm on. You hear me now okay? That's for you later. Madam Chairman, Madam Vice Chair Gavarone, and Ranking Member Senator Blackshear, and the rest of the members of the Senate General Government Committee, thank you for the opportunity to present opponent testimony before you today regarding Senate Bill 56, an anti-cannabis bill that would place Ohio back into a new era of cannabis prohibition, creating laws criminalizing the cannabis community, and endangering the existence of Ohio's current cannabis industry programs, a bill that dismisses the will of the people. My name's Tim Johnson, retired law enforcement, Air Force veteran. I've been down here at the State House for the last years as Senator Huffman's not here, but worked with Senator Huffman and the rest of the Soul Senator Schuring along the way in creating the medical program and also creating the hemp program. And then as a legislative advisor, I've met with many here regarding issue 2. I think the first thing we maybe all need to understand that the whole purpose of creating legalization or ending prohibition around cannabis is to end the criminalization of those people that are involved in it, rather than continuous to keep us, in the black market, cause a loss of revenue and so forth. I never liked that part, but the loss of the revenue, et cetera. It seems as though 56 is trying to put us right back there. Some of the language in 56 is redundant. It's kind of an overlay of what issue 2 was. A lot of this stuff's already in place. It's already laws and rules. Safe packaging, child resistant, that's there. And no, you can't sit at a ballpark with a 9-year-old next to you and smoke a joint, as was implicated. That's against the law as well. And there are many others. And even with the amendment that you just read in, there's a lot of that's already in statute or in rule.
All right, so you heard what he said right now. Now, I'd like to take y'all back in time to what he's talking about. And I kind of have lost, I let it play out. So hold on. See if I can get back to it. Let's see.
Consolidating both programs under the division will allow for consistent requirements regarding testing, packaging, label.
Today is a first hearing of Senate Bill. Senator Huffman, you can.
All right, so I've queued up this part to where Senator Huffman is talking about this part he's talking about, which about the kid in the ballpark. But we'll play this in a minute. I'm gonna get back to our other testimony here, and let's
And I know that
keep us in
not just the advocates, but the license holders here would say the same thing to it. Senate Bill 56 is, as I said, currently, Jim Canepa, Director Canepa, is doing a fantastic job in DCC in promulgating the rule packages, as Issue 2 timeline had. We appreciate the generosity of allowing the timeline to go as we have so far. But we think that 56 has just kind of jumped on that and brought a halt to it, where Issue 2, if Mr. Canepa was allowed, he could finish promulgating those rules and address a lot of the issues we have today.
Now, I want to talk about what he's referring to real quick. He's talking about those same rules in JCAR that she was talking about at the beginning of her speaking, and saying how, this Senate Bill 56 is basically stalling them from finishing the rules in JCAR. And he's bringing that back up. Like, a lot of this stuff already exists, and they just want to redo it all over and slip other things in there to make it worse.
The decriminalization is, as I kind of mentioned earlier, for cannabis, is, as I said, that idea is so that people can, get involved in a new industry. We can have new employers, new employees, people with jobs, people that can go out and feed their families and so forth and be a contributing member to society. And that's been the whole plan all along. I don't know if we introduced bills all along the way, but for some reason now we go backwards in time with this. So I think it's an issue that we need to address as far as the criminal justice reform parts of the bill. My thing with the bill, coming from a safety and security perspective, when I hear legislators talk about this is for public safety, this is for the protection of the kids, I have to throw a red flag and say, just be honest with us, be honest with yourselves. If this were true, we wouldn't have introduced, I'll just say it, Senate Bill 59, 3 bills later, that asked for no taxes on a firearm and ammunition. But you want to increase taxes on the cannabis community. Weigh it, it's common sense. Which one's more deadly to the society? I'm not against firearms, don't get me wrong, but to turn around and say we want to tax the cannabis community an additional 10% under the budget, from the 10% up to 20%, and we don't want to tax firearms. We want to bring firearm retailers into the community, firearm manufacturers in. I would suggest that you look at which one generates the most harm to society and which ones are generating more businesses. The ancillary businesses off of the cannabis industry, not just the license holders themselves. I'd also ask you to look at alcohol. 2,700 permits in Ohio, and you want to cap this at 350. Makes no sense. There's no safety factor there. And by the way, alcohol is the #1 drug killer in the United States. Tobacco, we know what that is. It says it on the package. It'll kill you. Something I introduced last year in January, I've introduced it again, is the melatonin. I don't know who's paying attention to that, but several legislators have gotten where I proposed an act to start regulating melatonin. Melatonin's killing our children, the gummies. Contrary to the rumors and fear-mongering stuff of CBD gummies from cannabis are putting people into an ER room. A lot of that's hogwash. It's not true. We have documented science proof, death certificates, toxicity things. Melatonin is killing our kids. Do something with that. It's simple. Caffeine, we made national news here a couple weeks ago about kids that are dying from caffeine. Real quick, I'll touch on this and then I will move on. As I said, I've been here 10 years. The 4 individuals that testified when Senator Huffman read the bill in, they've been saying that same stuff for 10 years. They've never changed their testimony. The doctor, leave her name out of it, from the disease control was actually in a committee hearing last year and had made a statement that children in Ohio had died here in Central Ohio in ERs from cannabis gummies. That was found untrue. She's not able to provide that information. But on that, along with, we know why prosecutors want to keep money for drug seizure funds, and we also know that the Chamber of Commerce doesn't mind collecting membership fees from the license holders. So I'd ask that you take a good long look at this. Yes, we kind of understand where it's going to go, but with that, I'll go ahead.
Very good. Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Johnson. I'd like to ask if there are any questions for this witness. Senator Blackshear.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Johnson, for your testimony. As a retired law enforcement officer, can you just tell us about some of the conversations that you've been having, if you've been having any, with current law enforcement officers, if there are any concerns, if this is something that we shouldn't be too concerned with, in the sense of, I think we may be over-exaggerating what this bill, not necessarily this bill, but what issue 2 would do for the state. Can you just expound on that?
Yeah, and I can go back to when I was still working the streets. The majority of us, that work in the streets as far as law enforcement, we know cannabis wasn't the problem on the streets. It's not the problem in the schools or the churches in the community. We know what the problems are.
Firearms, domestic violence, alcohol, pharmaceutical drugs, and so forth. And we've talked about that. And the majority of us, the issue is that finding cannabis in Ohio is like finding chocolate in a candy store. The stuff's everywhere. So that was an easy pick to make a traffic stop, smell an odor of cannabis, hemp, whatever it is, do a search, get some money, and so forth. The general consensus from the law enforcement I'm still in touch with, both retired, some of them commanders and educators now, and those that are active duty still, don't see cannabis as the problem as the perception that we see. If you ask some of the troopers here, I've worked with many of them on the streets. I think they'll tell the truth of themselves as far as how they feel about it.
Senator Blackshear with a follow-up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I guess my last question will be the stigma around it. As a former law enforcement officer, you've seen this firsthand, and you also mentioned it in your testimony that it's not as bad as it's put on to be. Can you just talk more about the stigma and the facts versus the not so facts?
Yeah, the stigma around cannabis has declined over the years, and we've seen generations change. We've seen the Harry Anslinger generation back in the 30s. That several of us here come from not that era, but
the speakings of what he's talked about cannabis being the stigma with that, clear up into when the DARE program started and the stigma went crazy. The drug problem in Ohio escalated very high because we're teaching kids how to do drugs.
That stigma still does exist. It is getting better as we educate people. As we've always said, educational awareness is our main key, and that's what we try to do, is to educate people along the way. I've done, attached to mine, you'll see some interviews in there with myself and state troopers and local law enforcement, and we're agreeing on what the issue is. OVI is one of the biggest things. There is no science that can prove impairment. We can prove it's active in your system, possibly. That's it. And I just talked to Senator Manning on the elevator ride up regarding Senate Bill 55. So.
All right, very good. Thank you. Any additional questions? All right, seeing none, Mr. Johnson, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next, we'll call up Don Holstrager from Chronic Wellness, LLC. Okay, thank you. Generally speaking, we'll have our staff collect things if you need anything. That's all right, going forward. But then, so after Don, we'll have Anthony Riley, Gary Daniels, Eric Whitted, Jason Wilson, and Mark Hobson. Thank you.
A little bit of backstory. The card's there just to describe my business. I started Chronic Wellness. We have Ohio's first mobile smoke shop, and we bring this store to your door. Quick side note, my dad is my biggest advocate for me with his epilepsy. We used, instead of Epiledex, which is pretty much CBD, we used CBD gummies, and we regulated his seizures. And since then, he's put 60 grand into the company for my startup. My testimony here has 7 points. Get through it pretty quick for us. So thank you guys for having me, senators. Number one, SB56 eliminates social license, equity licenses, not reduces, it eliminates, completely removes level 3 cultivation and dispensary license, cutting off opportunities for small, minority-owned, and independent businesses before they even have a chance to enter the market. Ohio promised a social equity program. Now, before it even starts, this bill erases it. The same people who were disproportionately criminalized for cannabis are now being told they can't participate in the industry. How is that fair? Point number two, this bill hands the market to big businesses. SB 56 automatically grants adult licenses to existing medical operators while forcing new applicants into a limited competitive license.
Okay, I stopped it just real quick to let you know. Existing license holders, existing dispensaries already got awarded licenses. This is called the 1B or something like that license. Basically, if you already had a dispensary, you got an extra license to open up somewhere else. So what he's talking about has already happened. It's already happened. The license has been awarded. The lottery already, the fix already in. So just so you know, that one part he's talking about, they done already done that. Done.
Process. All current medical marijuana businesses will automatically receive adult use licenses. New applicants will have to fight for a limited number of remaining licenses, if any even are available. This locks in corporate dominance before the adult use.
He's right, because they already said in this bill they were going to cap the number of dispensaries to 350. If 146 already are licensed and every last one of those get an extra license, you do the math there. They've already gotten almost 300. So that leaves less than 100 licenses potentially for social equity or other small business owners. And just to be clear, social equity is just a moniker for people who are oppressed, poor, and disadvantaged. This could be white or black, Hispanic, or any other nationality for that matter. But this is just people, the little folks like me. I wanted the social equity license. I don't know if we'll still even be able to do that if they pass this particular measure. So this is what this gentleman is talking about. So thanks again for your testimony, Don. Appreciate you.
Market opens fully. The state should not be picking winners and losers. The adult market should be open to all qualified businesses, not just those already in the game. Additionally, the bill limits dispensary ownerships to 8 locations per company, which favors large multi-state operators while restricting independent businesses. Severely restricts the number of new cultivation and dispensary licenses, leading to fewer options and higher prices for consumers. Ohio's adult use market should not be handed over to existing medical businesses while everyone else is forced to wait in line. Number 3 here, no delivery, no accessibility, and no progress. SB 56 fails to legalize cannabis delivery, and that's a major issue. This cuts off elderly, disabled, and
He's right. This is a major issue because cannabis delivery is in the issue 2 law. So it's in there. And the way it's supposed to work is dispensaries have to deliver it themselves. They cannot use a third party like Uber or DoorDash or Mr. Bud Delivery or whatever else. Has to be delivered by an employee from the dispensary. That's how it's written into the law to some degree. I don't have the exact verbiage in front of me, but according to the current issue 2 law that we all voted for and passed, if you live in Ohio and you're watching this, delivery is in there and we should have it. And we don't have it active right now. All we have is the drive-throughs and the curbside and online ordering. So we do have some of these things, but there are some things that are missing. And if Senate Bill 56 were to pass, then this would eliminate us having that option. So another reason why we're against Senate Bill 56 is because it would hurt the chances of us having delivery launched.
who may not have access to a dispensary. Other legal states, including Michigan, Massachusetts, and California, have safe, successful cannabis delivery programs. Without legal delivery, Ohio falls behind, and businesses that could create jobs will be locked out. If alcohol and prescription drugs can be delivered, why not cannabis? Number 4, local bans create cannabis deserts and fuel the illicit market. Ohio allows local governments to block dispensaries, processors, and cultivators even when their residents voted for legalization. That means the voters say yes to legal cannabis and local officials say no. That's not democracy, that's gatekeeping. This creates cannabis deserts where people have to drive hours for legal access, and when access is limited, illegal sales flourish. If Ohio is serious about public safety and eliminating the black market, we need a statewide access policy, not a patchwork of bans. Number 5, Ohio grow restrictions are government overreach. SB56 places unreasonable restrictions on home cultivation, 6 plants per household, not per adult. Costly security requirements that make it harder for everyday Ohioans, no sharing, gifting, or trading homegrown cannabis. Let me ask you this. Can Ohioans brew their own beer at home? Yes. Can Ohioans grow their own tomatoes? Yes. But now somehow growing 6 cannabis plants is a threat to security. This isn't about public safety, it's about control. Home grows should be expanded to at least 6 plants per adult, not per household. Additionally, home cultivators should have the ability to test and sell to dispensaries and develop their own brands, fostering a thriving small business ecosystem. Point number 6. SB 56 introduces new marijuana taxes with no consumer protections. We know that taxes are coming, but where's the transparency? This bill does not specify how the taxes will be and where the money will go. Other states have seen overtaxation push consumers back to the illegal market. California is a prime example. Legal products became so expensive that 60% of the cannabis sales still happen underground. Without clear tax and price protections, Ohio will repeat the same mistakes. 7, where's the criminal justice reform? This bill does nothing to address past cannabis-related convictions, nothing for expungements, nothing for record sealing. People are still carrying criminal records for something that's now legal. Meanwhile, corporations are cashing in on the industry while those people are locked out. If this bill truly supported justice and equity, it would include automatic expungements and pathways for past offenders to enter the industry. My final thoughts is Ohio deserves better. This bill is not about consumer safety. It isn't about responsible regulation. It's about control, corporate monopolies, and shutting out competition. If this committee truly wants to regulate cannabis in Ohio the right way, I urge you to legalize cannabis delivery to ensure access for all, allow qualified businesses to compete, not just hand the market to medical operators and out-of-state corporations. Expand home grow rights, at least 6 plants per adult, not per household. Allow home cultivators to sell to dispensaries and develop their own brands. Set clear, reasonable tax rates to keep legal products competitive. Strengthen social equity provisions, restore level 3 licenses, and expunge past convictions. Ohio voters wanted real legalization. Let's not allow corporate interests to water it down. I urge you in this committee to reject Senate Bill 56 in its current form and support a bill that actually reflects the will of the people. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Holstrager. Are there any questions for this witness? Senator DeMora.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have one quick question. So you didn't touch on this on your testimony, but I wondered what you thought about the fact that right now you can smoke marijuana in a park or on a street, but under the bill you can no longer do that. It becomes illegal to smoke marijuana in public. What are your thoughts on that?
The marijuana community's been smoking cannabis pretty much in their car, at a park. It's never offended anybody before now. We're generally respectable people. We will smoke up, but if somebody around us is waving their hand, we walk away. Not many people that I've encountered throughout my time of delivery, and throughout 2024, went to several fairs, festivals, and there's always a smoker section, and generally people can consume in those areas. I do think it's not fair for them to smoke up wherever they want. I think that with general restrictions in place that we have for tobacco and how we run our tobacco is fair to say that would work right well with the marijuana industry as well.
Very good, thank you. Any additional questions? All right, seeing none, thank you for your testimony today. Next witness I'd like to call is Anthony D. Riley from Ohio Cannabis Live. Is Mr. Riley here? Yes, I am. Okay, would you like to approach the podium?
Hello, thank you for having me today.
Give me just a second to get my iPad going here. It's technology. All right, so I heard this bill's been changed a little bit, but it still kind of sounds like the same thing. So I'm gonna read my testimony as submitted. All right. Hello, honorable members of the General Committee. Thank you for having me today. My name is Anthony D. Riley. I'm here today to testify against Senate Bill 56 because it threatens key areas of Ohio's cannabis law, including home cultivation, patient rights and consumer protections, taxes, market competition, sharing, prohibition, and THC limits. I was born and raised in Dayton, Ohio, and I've lived in Columbus over 20 years. I'm a disabled business owner living with a traumatic brain injury and chronic pancreatitis. I've experienced firsthand how medical cannabis has reduced my need for dangerous pain medication and improved my quality of life. So I have some points I'm gonna go through here, and this is gonna be short. First thing I want to touch base on is home cultivation, keeping the existing limits as they are. Ohio's current home grow limits are in line with other legal cannabis states. Growing cannabis isn't easy. It requires patience, skill, and the right conditions. Many grow multiple strains for specific effects, especially medical patients like myself. Joints do not grow on trees, okay? Just thought I'd get that out there. Home cultivation requires harvesting, drying, and curing before cannabis is usable. Cutting home grow limits won't change that. Reducing plant counts doesn't generate revenue. It wastes enforcement resources, just like banning smoking for medical patients. It doesn't make sense and would be nearly impossible to enforce. Patient rights and consumer protections. Medical cannabis patients should be allowed to smoke their medicine. Prohibiting combustion pushes patients towards expensive, less effective alternatives. Ohioans should not lose jobs, housing, or health care for legal cannabis use. Patients are being denied pain management simply for using medical cannabis, and that should stop, needs to stop. Ohio needs safe consumption spaces. Alcohol-free venues should be available for legal, responsible cannabis use. Right now, many people resort to, as you heard earlier, consuming in their cars, which is obviously not the safest thing. Even though you said the tax things in there, I still want to talk about this. The taxes. Raising taxes from 10% to 50% will send more consumers to Michigan, okay, where prices are already lower. Medical cannabis patients should be tax-free. Patients shouldn't pay extra for their medicine. The community and social equity funds must remain at the percentages that they already set at. This is crucial for reinvesting in Ohio communities. Dispensaries should be allowed to advertise. Keeping restrictions in place makes it harder for Ohioans to know about legal options and pushing them toward the Michigan or illicit market. Law enforcement needs retraining, not more funding. Officers need statewide training program to ensure that they don't unfairly target cannabis consumers. Sharing prohibition. This is one I feel very strongly about. Sharing cannabis has been a part of human culture for centuries. Banning it is unenforceable and unnecessary. Adults should be allowed to share cannabis with friends and family, just like home-grown produce or homemade wine. Prohibiting sharing would create unnecessary legal issues and push more people to unregulated markets. The THC limits. One size does not fit all. Cannabis affects everyone differently, and setting an arbitrary THC limit ignores medical needs. Cannabis affects everyone differently. Setting the arbitrary THC limit ignores medical needs. Forcing patients to buy weaker products mean they will have to buy more, increasing their cost. Instead of restricting THC, we should educate the public on responsible use. Okay, last thing. We need a town hall meeting. I've been asking for this for 5 years since I started Ohio Cannabis Live, and I think this is really the time when we need to get, this is a lot of people, as you can see, but there's millions of cannabis consumers in Ohio. They cannot all fit in this room. Thank y'all all for coming and representing, but we need a bigger forum, we need a bigger place, and everybody is not comfortable testifying, everybody's not comfortable coming to the State House. We need to have something where people can come and voice can be heard professionally, properly moderated, of course. But at the end of the day, that is one of the main reasons I came here today, is to advocate for you all before y'all do anything with the law, even before DCC does what they're gonna do. Let's have a town hall meeting here in Columbus. Let's get everybody together. Let's find common ground, and let's come with an amendment that people will actually be proud of to support and say, listen, my lawmakers actually get it. They actually listen to me this time. And I think it's important for this committee
to take a tour of a licensed cultivation facility and see for yourself how cannabis actually is produced and grown. And also for you to take a look at someone who's growing it at home so you can understand firsthand the difference between the two, because it's a dramatic difference, night and day. And there are a lot of people who are suffering right now and are in panic because they don't even know what the cannabis laws are right now. Some people think that it's 12 plants. Some people think that it's 6 plants. Some people don't know the difference between THCA and THC. It's just a whole big confusion for everyone involved. We've got to end that. And the only way to do that is a town hall with the Division of Cannabis Control and lawmakers, including DeWine, present, so that we can all get all these things clarified.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Riley, for your testimony. Are there any questions for this witness? No? All right, seeing none, we appreciate you being here. Next witness is Gary Daniels from the ACLU of Ohio. And again, as his coming up, just again.
All right, so I just want to show you kind of a pattern that you're going to notice is that you're going to see people testify and you're going to see virtually no questions asked from the committee. I'm just previewing this for you so you'll know what to expect. It's simply because they're trying to rush all of them through because it's 25 people and they already know we're right. I think that's why they're not asking a lot of questions, because they probably agree with us. My sentiment of the committee is that they are kind of just there taking the heat because Senator Huffman is not there. If he was there, I think the tone and the feeling in the room would be different. I think people will be trying to address him directly since he's the one who's the sponsor. And I think that we should have another opportunity when he's back from Kentucky. He's helping with the flood effort down there, and God bless him for doing that. But we should have an opportunity to talk directly to Senator Huffman at a committee meeting or a town hall. So if you are happen to watch this, Senator Huffman, we'd love to have you at a town hall so we could talk this out and see how we can work together to find common ground. Like I said, I've been trying to do this for 5 years. I'm going to get it done this time, no matter what. If I have to pay for it myself, I just am at this point where there's so much confusion about this stuff. We could play all these over, and we are going to play them all the way through. But I just want to tell you, this is a lot to process. But it's important that you hear these other people's testimonies. So that's why I'm going to make sure that you hear it all the way to the end.
Witnesses to try to keep their comments, if you can, to 3 minutes, just out of respect for all those that are wishing to testify today. Thank you. You may begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chairwoman Rogner. Chairwoman Rogner, Vice Chair Gavarone, Ranking Member Blackshear, and members of the Senate General Government Committee, thank you for this opportunity to provide opponent testimony on Senate Bill 56. My name is Gary Daniels. I am here representing the ACLU of Ohio. The ACLU of Ohio endorsed Issue 2 for 2 primary reasons. First, Issue 2 stems the tide of Ohioans acquiring criminal records and entering Ohio's bursting jails and prisons for cannabis-related offenses. Second, Issue 2 is a positive step toward repairing the harms of the thoroughly failed war on drugs. For these same reasons, we implore you to respect the will of voters and reject provisions of this bill that far surpass mere technical or otherwise innocuous revisions. Of course, the ACLU of Ohio recognizes revisions to the revised code are well within your purview, and changing laws is often necessary to fix oversights and to make policies function as intended. However, SB 56 is no such change. Not only is it a wholesale abandonment of key policy features of the initiated statute, but it occurs after the General Assembly already had the opportunity but refused to consider, review, or alter Issue 2's language and provisions during the initiated statute process. Ohio voters overwhelmingly supported Issue 2. In doing so, they endorsed policies regarding adult use cannabis. SB 56 now proposes to roll back these changes in whole or in part in an affront to these same voters. For example, and I'll offer just a few examples, adult use of cannabis. Under current law, of course, adults 21 plus years old may purchase cannabis from a licensed dispensary or grow cannabis at home with up to 6 plants permitted per household member, with a maximum of 12 plants allowed, as you've heard here today. Of-age Ohioans may also possess cannabis in a variety of forms and potency levels. In contrast, Senate Bill 56 cuts in half the total number of plants that may be grown in one's home from 12 to 6. It also reduces the maximum THC levels in extracts from 90% to 70%. Curiously, SB56 also outlaws the unlicensed transfer of homegrown and other cannabis between adults, arguably banning the sharing of, for example, a joint between 2 or more people. I suppose birthday gifts and Christmas gifts of this type will also be illegal. Number 2 example, social equity and jobs program. Like many other states, Issue 2 proscribed a thoughtful process and system to ensure at least some of those most directly impacted by the failed war on drugs can now benefit from Ohio's new cannabis laws and industry. The relevant language in Issue 2 in current law is explicit in its intent to accomplish such things as, quote, study and fund direct investment in disproportionately impacted communities to enhance education, entrepreneurism, legal aid, youth development, violence prevention, and the arts related to the program, end quote. By our estimate, the money earmarked for the Cannabis Social Equity and Jobs Fund from the first 6 months of sales already exceeds $11 million. This is accomplished via a 10% excise tax on cannabis sales, with 36% of those excise tax proceeds going to the Social Equity and Jobs Program. In contrast, Senate Bill 56 completely abolishes the Social Equity and Jobs Program. It also slashes current similar funding that supports the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services to alleviate substance abuse, and another fund for the benefit of municipal corporations and townships that have adult use dispensaries. A final example, legal protections. Under current law, there are explicit protections provided for adults who use cannabis. Ohioans are protected from adverse actions based solely on cannabis use, such as taking disciplinary action against a professional license holder and disqualifying a person from a public benefit, among other protections. On the other hand, Senate Bill 56 continues and perpetuates Ohio's mass incarceration and punishment mindset by scrapping these protections. SB 56 also imposes serious penalties for smoking, vaporizing, or combusting cannabis in a vehicle, including as a passenger. No evidence of impairment apparently needed under SB 56. These penalties include mandatory jail terms for even a first offense and steep fines. This is not, committee members, a complete list of reasons to oppose SB 56. You've got other people to hear from here today. But I want to say that finally, the ACLU of Ohio urges this committee to not rush this bill through the Senate. There's lots of interest in this issue across Ohio, but many do not have an opportunity to testify today or have had a chance to fully review a 147-page bill with numerous provisions introduced less than 1 month ago. SB 56 is not the tidying up of a citizen-initiated statute. Instead, it is a rebuke of the people and businesses that drafted the initiative, voted for it, worked tirelessly to implement it, and generated so far $319 million of adult use sales. Your constituents deserve the chance to fully weigh in on an important issue so resoundingly before it is demolished by politicians. For these reasons and plenty more, the ACLU of Ohio urges your rejection of Senate Bill 56. Thank you, Chairman.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Any questions for this witness? All right. Seeing none, thanks for being here today. Next witness I'd like to call is Eric Whitted, and he will be followed by Jason Wilson, Mark Hobson, David Jung, John Coble, and Matthew William Hyde. All right, welcome to committee.
Chairperson Rogner, I timed myself last night. I was right around 5 minutes. I'm known to be a little verbose, so Matt from Civics Cannabis has given me a minute, and I've put a couple things out of here based on the taxes, so we should be good today. My name is Eric Whited. I am a daily cannabis user, both medicinally and as an adult use consumer. I grow my own cannabis. I conduct home grow and processing consultations and do educations in my spare time. I'd be happy to take any senators on this committee or in the broader body to see my home grow or attend one of my sessions. I do it for free for the public because our state doesn't do enough of that right now. I have a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of South Florida. Through my work as a brand ambassador at a level 1 cultivator, I work with both processors and dispensaries daily and have worked in both the medical and adult use sectors. I speak to hundreds I speak to hundreds of patients and consumers every week, and I learn from sales associates, managers, and buyers in retail stores. I support Chapter 3780 of Ohio's Revised Code. During this testimony, I do not speak for any companies or organization. Rather, I am speaking as myself for the broader cannabis community. I am here today to oppose many of the changes put forth by Senate Bill 56. Our state has done many things right in the battle for cannabis, and I would like to personally thank those of you who have had a hand in that process. Though we have made great strides, our community that believes that the program is suffering from three major weaknesses, one of which I've struck from the record based on the taxes being left alone. The education and regarding cannabis in this state and the lack of adequate testing for the everyday user shows an unfortunate lack of consumer health and safety. The attack on home-grown rights is not based on provable data and would only serve to restrict citizens' access to safe medicine. There's many people in this room who have consumed my home-grown cannabis that I've gifted to them. It has helped them with their pain. I'm not willing to give that up. It is my passion and calling to educate the public regarding cannabis. I consider users of this plant my community and my constituents. Today, I aim to collaborate with members of this committee in representing their constituents by providing perspective and testimony from the grassroots community. I'd like to start where I start with an everyday person that approaches me in my work that wants to know more about cannabis. I understand you all have done your own research, but this is an easy way to make sure we're all coming from the same spot. All humans have an endocannabinoid system known as an ECS containing CB1 and CB2 receptors. These interact with naturally produced cannabinoids to regulate and signal across the body for various functions, including mood, sleep, immune function, neurological function, pain perception, and more. The FDA's recognition of the minor cannabinoid supports this science. I also, even though he's not here today, I would like to appreciate your colleague on the committee, Senator Huffman, for his work on another piece of legislation, Senate Bill 86, as it does provide more clear definitions to protect consumers in this state. Senate Bill 86 is a great starting point to regulate the current illicit market that exists due to loopholes regarding THC and Delta-8, and also acknowledges the medical benefits of over 10 minor cannabinoids. However, this need for additional legislation evidences the importance of having an educated and conformed consumer base and highlights some of the issues in Senate Bill 56, which I will finally get to. To provide a safer market to Ohio, as the intended goal is of this legislation, the committee has an opportunity to create an informed and protected consumer base. This requires investing in education and testing for everyday users such as myself. The state could provide general education on the history of hemp and cannabis, as hemp has hundreds of thousands of years history and cannabis is over 2,000 years old. We could teach the public about the health benefits and side effects of cannabis, as well as the psychoactive and non-psychoactive impacts of various cannabis compounds. This could be a collaborative effort between the state and medical users to recommend proper dosages that our state currently has limited options outside of Rick Simpson oil. Limiting dosage to 100 milligrams is not founded in anything that I have seen. In fact, 100 milligrams is not going to deal with my pain or many of the people that I help. To the medical patient, many of the existing and proposed restrictions on THC limits are not founded in any recommendations. Comments from our representatives about concentrate limits being compared to orange juice concentrate are both insulting to the producers of this medicine who I speak to and those who use it every day. And it also adds to my daily fight against the stigma of using this medicine, which I have to.
Okay, I just want to stop right there. So you heard what he was saying. He's talking about them lowering the THC cap from 90 to 70%. He's talking about that thing in J cars where instead of you being able to buy a high dose edible package for 400 or 500 milligrams, you're going to have to buy a 110 milligram package. So let's say you want 500 milligrams of THC in your edibles. You're going to have to buy 5 packs of gummies or 5 packs of edibles at 110 milligrams each. Now, that isn't even part of the Senate Bill 56. He's talking about what's part of the rules package in J cars with the Division of Cannabis Control. And rules ain't laws. Just so you can understand this again, anybody can make rules. I can make the rules of my house. You can make the rules of your company, the rules of your operation or whatever. I can't make a law, though. That requires the Senate, the House, and the governor. Or in the federal, it's the Senate, the House, and the president. So the laws can be changed. We can get these laws readjusted as far as the dosage and things of that nature. But if they make it part of the law and not a rule, then now we have a bigger problem because now we have to try to change the law. It's easy to change or break a rule or to change a rule. It's harder to break the law or to redo the law. That's a whole nother thing. Just so you understand what's going on.
every single day. I talk to individuals daily in my work that can't find products in Ohio's market that provide them a medical dosage, and they find a better dosage in the previously existing markets, Michigan or the legacy market. The only other option is to grow their own cannabis and create their own edibles with dosage that can provide substantial relief and improved quality of life without having to worry about organ failure and processor issues. Edibles can use up to 5 different organs to be absorbed. Gummies that are most popular on this market only utilize 2. I have many other testimonies in my inbox, in my email, and my Instagram directly shared with me in my work of people who couldn't make it here today due to pain. They don't know how to get down here. They're afraid of parking, coming in front of these people. So I'm here to represent all of them today. Many users find that home-grown cannabis is the best way to provide themselves with safe, affordable medicine, and the sense of providing for oneself cannot be understated, something that both the liberal and conservative members of this committee can understand. There's a bevy of factors that affect a home-grow yield. Therefore, there is no way to calculate an average weight of an individual plant. I've experienced that myself in the last year in my 4 or 5 grows since it's become legal. There's been various yields there. Depending on what the grower is using the cannabis for, they could be making extracts, edibles, or topicals, all of which are legal to make at home, and they require a much higher yield to provide a worthwhile return for their work. Many users find that homegrown cannabis is the only route to avoid cannabis that has been shown the proper care post-harvest. As it's been said earlier, the dry, cure, and storage of cannabis flower is a very important part of the process that can be overlooked at the commercial scale. The majority of commercial facilities in this state use remediation machines on site, which means that they can use on any of their products before testing very quickly. Remediation machines are devices that remove mold, bacteria, and other products and other microbial life forms from cannabis using radiation or other technology. Ohio's cannabis program does not have to label the remediators, Ohio's program does not allow cultivators to label their product. Therefore, any jar that goes out into the market could be remediated and the consumer would have no idea. And we have not studied the long-term health benefits of this. As the General Committee has stated, one of the broader goals in Senate Bill 56 is to protect consumers and the public. Requiring cultivators to report when their cannabis has been remediated would be an incredible stride and would make us much more competitive with other markets. In my testimony, I have highlighted the many successes of our existing program, as well as shining light on places that could use help. I do not propose that the state take on more work without proper funding. However, the current changes to the excise tax were an overreach. I removed the rest of my statements here, but I do propose that instead the state carve out 10% of our existing excise tax, which is already 10%. Take 10% of that and use that to fund education and testing for individuals. Our great state of Ohio could recoup millions of dollars in sales that are currently going untaxed and collected by other states. This tax revenue could increase by capturing existing commerce by providing a proper framework to include more players, all while funding said framework with an already existing tax structure. Finally, voters have chosen to have their legal adult use cannabis purchases help create a safer state for all of us. I am asking Senator Chairperson Rogner and this committee chair to listen to my testimony and listen to the will of the people. I am asking for our legislature to provide education, testing, and support to the already existing market and community. Rather than trying to control a market that has existed for decades, I'm asking our representatives to manage the legacy market rather than continue the losing fight. I'm asking that everyday people are given a chance in this industry. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Whitehead, thank you for your testimony. Stay right there. We'll see if there are any questions. All right, seeing none.
Thank you.
You're free to go. I'd like to call up next Jason Wilson from Paragon Development Group. And he'll be followed by, so if you guys could get ready, Mark Hobson, David Jung, John Coble, Matthew William Hyde, in that order. Welcome to committee, Mr. Wilson. You may begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Vice and the committee. I'm not going to, we've already 50 minutes into 5 people here, so I'm going to make bulletin points for you. Basically, House Bill 56, we've already talked multiple times about potency, stuff like that, but we've already went in front of the DCC. They've already cleared us for the 15,000 square foot expansions, which, House Bill 56 is, trying to restrict. We were landlocked. We were, my personal grow, we were landlocked. I've bought land. I've got drawings. I've already spent tons of money on this project to expand on something that's possibly going to be taken out, which will obviously greatly affect my corporation. Obviously pulling the tax away from the municipalities that, they're to 6% of 10% that they're supposed to be getting. We have partnerships with these communities. We go in there, we preach this to them like, hey, you're going to get a piece of the taxes, which is obviously now.
this is what I've been telling everybody about. This is the community fund he's talking about, where people have agreed to have dispensaries in their community, and then they get a piece of the tax revenue from the recreational sales. The extra 10% you're paying for recreational goes back to the community fund. And he built his dispensary, I mean, his company model on that, try to build it where he's at and everything. And now they're basically going to take that away. Basically, like he told people something they was going to get, and now they're not going to get it. So he's not the only one in the situation. Other license holders are in the same situation. These are smaller mom and pop people who are from Ohio and feel very passionate about the plant and spending all their money, millions of dollars on this stuff. And then they're getting the short end of the stick too. So it isn't just the poor folk that are getting the short end of the stick here. It's some of these millionaires, these putting all their money into this, who live here, who are from Ohio. They're losing money too. So they got a stake in this bill too. So it's not just the cannabis community who don't support this bill. It's other people who are in the industry who are against this bill as well, just like Jason. Thanks for testifying, Jason.
Going to be taken from them and put into the general fund or wherever, it decides to get to. This makes us out to be the bad guy. We promise something that, once again, that we can't, I have no control over that. I can't, but they're still going to look to me like I'm the one that promised them this. So I totally disagree with that. The potency restrictions going down, making patients pay, you're talking what they're getting right this second. They're going to have to spend 4 to 5 times the amount of, on their medications that they're currently getting right now, if you do restrict these down to, your 100 milligrams that you guys are talking about. And, already struggling patients, a lot of us, like myself, I am a certified disabled veteran-owned corporation. I'm a disabled vet. I also am a medical marijuana card holder. I also participate in the program. So I can see how it affects, my brothers and sisters out here that, some of us can't afford, paying 4 to 5 times what you're currently paying to get the same product on the market right this second. You guys want everything to come in the Ohio market and being spent in the Ohio market. Well, this is not the way to do it, because there.
And you see, he's right. This is exactly what he's trying to tell y'all. I've been saying this, and now you're hearing what Mastamynd has been saying to y'all for 3 weeks straight. You're hearing it from somebody who, like he said, is a veteran. He's a medical cannabis patient. He's a license holder. He's put millions of dollars into this. And you see, he's getting the short end of the stick. And like he said, then the community he's trying to serve and help gonna think he turned on them for big interest, and then make him out to be the villain when this ain't even nothing he got no control over. He's not the only license holder who is in this position, whether they spoke out or not. But Jason is a good example of someone that the community should pay attention to, as someone who has multiple operations, not just in Ohio. This Jason has multiple operations and multiple things going on in the cannabis space. Many of you heard he just did the deal with Wu-Tang. So he's about to drop the Wu-Tang cannabis strains in Ohio. So Jason is one of these people that, put millions into this and could lose millions of dollars if this Senate Bill 56 passed. So again, I just want to show this to you because there's so many people who are going to speak here. He's one that you pay attention to because, again, he's speaking from multiple viewpoints. Again, as a veteran, as a medical cannabis patient, as a disabled veteran, also as a license holder who has spent millions of dollars on this whole thing. And he is also a very new cultivator in our program. He came in on the second round. So he's just now getting started in this space in Ohio. And he is learning the hard way, like many others, that we say one thing here and we quick to do something else when you ain't looking. So again, thank you, Mr. Jason Wilson, for testifying. And we appreciate your service, sir.
Our surrounding states, not to mention, it's a short drive. you know, you guys want all this tax money. It's hard to increase your tax money if it's not even spent in the state. So, you know, I'm just, you know, don't have to beat a dead horse on the tax situation. I think you've heard enough. But yeah, I just made bulletin points on stuff that I agree and disagree with. And
All right, very good. Well, stay right there. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Wilson, for your testimony. Are there any questions for this witness? All right, Senator Timken.
Yeah. So you addressed the issue that you've already been cleared for 15,000 square feet for your permitting. I assume then you would support a provision if you were grandfathered in for previous permits from the Department of Cannabis Control?
Well, obviously, I'd like to get what I was promised, because like I say, I've spent tons of money. But if they're going to restrict the program, restrict it to what we were already given, I would be fine with that.
Okay. And thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your service. That's, all right, very good. Next, I'd like to call up Mark Hobson. Welcome to committee. You may begin whenever you're ready.
Chairman Rogner and honorable members of this committee, thank you for allowing me to testify here in opposition to Senate Bill 56. Let me start by saying I've shortened my testimony considerably, so I pared out a few paragraphs here on the fly. If something doesn't make sense to you, I'll be happy to answer, because I think I got it right, but we'll find out, okay? All right, so anyway, let me continue. So my name is Mark Thomas Hobson. I'm the CEO of Wellspring Fields. We're a level 2 cultivator and processor located in Ravenna, Ohio. As a little background, I own an oil pollution company in Chagrin Falls, which I started with my father when I graduated in 1984. In 2017, when the opportunity arose for us to start a new company in Ohio in the medical marijuana program, I persuaded my daughter to come back to Ohio from Boston, and together with my son, we applied and won a level 2 license for cultivating and processing. We started Wellspring Fields with zero outside funding because we wanted it to be a true family-owned business in Ohio with no outside influence. Senate Bill 56, as is currently written, will cost us millions and jeopardize all that my family and I have built. We've already started to expand our cultivation to the 15,000 square feet of cultivation that was allowed by the passage of the initiated statute in November of 2023. This bill cuts us back to 3,000 square feet and easily halves our current business. If enacted, this bill would cost our family-owned business millions of dollars that we can't afford to lose and jeopardize the jobs of Ohioans that work for us.
Did you hear that? Another person who said it would just kill his family-owned business that he started here with him and his daughter. Now, I just want to let y'all know something. I know Mark Hobson, and I know his daughter. I've met them. I've been to Wellspring Fields. It's a small place. It's truly a family-operated business. It's like going to your mom-and-pop restaurant in your local small town in Riviera, Ohio. Very nice place. So, again, another Ohio-born, Ohio business owner who has put millions of dollars, millions of his family's money into this cannabis thing. For the legislator to basically kind of take away what they already gave us, what the people of Ohio gave him. In issue 2, as he has said, he was given a certain amount of space to expand. Just for reference, Mr. Hobson is a level 2 cultivator. There's level 1 and level 2, and many people keep hearing the word level 3. Guess what? That don't exist yet. We want a level 3. That's hopefully the social equity cultivation licenses. It's supposed to be 40, I believe, of those. So these, again, are people who are not big corporations. These are family-owned businesses that will be directly impacted by this Senate Bill 56. So this is, again, somebody worth paying attention to, because he was one of the first companies in Ohio to come online when we legalized. So many of you who are OGs in the program, you'll know Wellspring Fields was one of 3 cultivators that was available on the first day of sales. So on the first day of sales, we had Wellspring Fields, we had Firelands, we had Buckeye Relief, and I think maybe we might have had Standard. So there are way more cultivators in the program now. If you haven't tried or heard of Well Springs Fields, check them out, because they truly are your local mom and pop business owners here in the cannabis space. So they basically show that, you know, with the right things that a family can create a family-owned cannabis business here in Ohio. But it is extremely difficult. And it costs, as you've heard him say, and as the other Jason said, a lot of money, millions of dollars. So again, these people are on our side, as you can see in here. And I just want to point it out to you. So next time people say all cannabis companies are greedy SOBs, or people or just don't care about the people, I want you to think back to Jason and Mark and some of the other license holders you're going to hear from today who actually do care about this plant and care about the community and care about the impact that this will have on their business and your availability to access cannabis at a reasonable price. Because right now we know it's not at a reasonable price.
Respectfully ask this committee to amend the bill to allow level 2 licensees to continue to cultivate within the 15,000 square feet that was allotted originally in issue 2. Now, turning to the topic of concentration being limited to 70%. This is lower than Michigan, lower than the illicit market, and lower than what is easily available on the internet through popular online markets, including the hemp market. In cutting concentration back to 70%, the legislature is inadvertently putting the tax-generating legal market at a severe disadvantage to these other markets. It's inevitable that these markets will flourish and even grow to a greater scale than they already have, and the legal market will suffer and become insignificant in comparison. What's more, most of these products are untested or barely tested. Marijuana treated with cancer-causing pesticides used to kill pests and fungi, edibles with inaccurate potencies, and edibles that mimic children's candies are all going to increase if restrictions and extra taxes are placed on the regulated market in Ohio. Incidentally, a lot of these things, a lot of the distillate that are made, the things you're seeing in the hemp market, it's coming from China. They don't test.
Did you hear that? He said a very important thing I want to stop and say something on. A lot of this distillate he's talking about is coming from China. Imagine that. So you don't know what this oil from this illicit market is from, or from where, or from these homemade things. They're getting oil from China. Well, that's interesting how they getting China. I didn't know China liked weed. Anybody know about China laws? They like weed over there. I mean, they seem to be making a lot of distillate and a lot of vape cartridges and vape devices over there in China. China, y'all got some explaining to do. Anyway.
It's just showing up on the shelves. There's no restrictions there. I mean, you can open, kids can buy this stuff. I mean, through this bill, you're over-regulating a market that's already law-abiding, already playing by the rules, and owners that are responsible.
Another key point he brought out about hemp products that are being unregulated. Kids can buy this stuff. They don't even have an age limit. How can they say that they care about the kids and the children and all these things, and there not be an age limit on hemp, not be any oversight of inspections of products at gas stations and corner stores? Where is the oversight there? Why are we cracking down on something that isn't broken, that already got regulations, that already has rules, but we're letting everybody else do whatever they want? Doesn't sound like they're really trying to do anything to help us here at all, does it?
And you're basically giving these guys more of an opportunity in the state of Ohio. Incidentally, I'd like to point out that there has not been one serious adverse reaction to any legal product in the Ohio marijuana market since the program's inception. The Ohio regulatory scheme is working and has been working since 2017. It provides business certainty and protects the public and consumer interests alike. In closing, I'd like to point out that Ohio has a flourishing black and gray market that pays no taxes and poisons Ohioans. Restricting our cultivation space, reducing potencies, and raising taxes on safe Ohio-made products only bolster these markets and shrinks the regulated market at the same time. In the process, Senate Bill 56, as written, would put Ohioans out of work and shrink another source of tax revenue for Ohio. Why not use the program the legislature created to combat the bad players? Why not dismantle the illicit market and the gray market with proven safe products and law-abiding producers? Thank you for your consideration of these amendments, and I am available for any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Hobson, for your testimony. Are there any questions for this witness? Senator Blackshear.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for your testimony. You mentioned the jobs you created, your business has created. Can you just talk a little bit about how many jobs your business has created, and then also to the how it impacts the local community that you all have your business in?
Sure. So we're in a fairly low-income area in Ohio. We employ about 25 people at our facility. The new 10B license will employ another 20 to 25 people. Everybody that works for me lives within a 10 or so mile radius of where we are. There are a couple of exceptions. So we really are supporting the local community in that respect.
Very good. Are there any additional questions? All right, seeing none, thank you for your testimony today. I'd like to call up David Jung from Ohio. Welcome to committee. And as he's making his way up, next will be John Coble, Matthew William Hyde, Simon Dunkel, Ariane Kirkpatrick, in that order. Okay, welcome to committee.
Excuse me. Chairwoman Rogner, Vice Chair Gavarone, Ranking Member Blackshear, members of the committee, want to thank you for the opportunity to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 56. My name is David Jung. I am the Director of Operations for Ohio. We are a level 2 medical marijuana cultivator based in Toledo. The company has been in operation since 2018. We have 46 employees, and we have plans to grow if ORC 3780 remains intact. Senate Bill 56 disproportionately limits small cultivators by capping level 2 license holders at 3,500 square feet with a potential expansion to 9,000 at the discretion of the Department of Commerce. This restricts our ability to compete in an adult use market which is projected to double or even triple. In short, capping level 2 cultivation area at 3,000 square feet and expansion, authority, keeps shrinking on me, I'm sorry. In short, capping level 2 cultivation area 3,000 square feet and expansion authority at 9,000 square feet, subject to regulatory discretion, marginalizes the Ohio small business that drives our economy. Further, many level 2 cultivators have already invested millions in expanding their facilities. Based on ORC 3780, any reduction in permitted capacity will almost certainly cause irreparable damage to these small businesses. We propose retain the existing cultivation limits in ORC 3780, 15,000 square feet expansion to 20,000 square feet to ensure small businesses can compete effectively. The taxation, we saw that the substitute bill went back down to 10%. That helps us be able to remain competitive in the market. Allowing municipalities to impose a local tax will result in local taxes being passed to consumers through higher priced products. This too will disincentivize participants in the legal market in favor of uncontrolled, untaxed, and potentially unsafe alternatives. The potency caps. Senate Bill 56 reduces permissible potency for regulated cannabis products. This new restriction is especially problematic in the context of concentrate products like vaporization cartridges. Excuse me. Producers will have to dilute products by adding fillers, as purity is important to product quality for concentrate products. Introducing fillers will compromise quality. We propose retain the potency caps currently included in ORC 3780, or in the alternative, exclude concentrate products, particularly vaporization cartridges. from lower potency caps. In conclusion, Senate Bill 56 as drafted undermines small businesses, reduces market competition, and disrupts existing industry operations. Adjustments to cultivation limits and sales restrictions are necessary to ensure a fair and sustainable cannabis industry in Ohio and to prevent Ohio dollars from flowing into Michigan's economy and continued enrichment of illicit drug dealers that historically supply the cannabis market. Only by ensuring a competitive market and incentivizing participation therein can Ohio bring transparency, consumer safety, market control, and tax revenue to the state. The changes to ORC 3780 work against these ends, and for that reason, I respectfully oppose Senate Bill 56 and ask that you do the same.
Mr. Jung, thank you for your testimony today. Are there any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, I'd like to call John Coble. And he's making his way up. Welcome to committee.
Takes my old long legs away to get up there. Madam Chair and Vice Chair Gavron, Ranking Member Blackshear, and members of the committee, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. You guys have bitten off a lot on this committee. There's top 3 divisive, subjects in America, and this is definitely in the top 3. And with our nutsy political crazy world of the right going too far right and the left going too far left, as a dispensary worker and representing a company that has 3 dispensaries, I'm looking at this from a common sense approach for patients, for the adult use consumers, for the owners. I'm John Cobe. I'm with Ohio Cannabis Company. We are a family-owned, operated, and argued over company in Ohio. We are passionate about what we do. We have children who have graduated from college that work for us. We have 75 people working for us full-time, part-time in our dispensaries. We were the 6th to open in the state of Ohio back in 2019. And I was there on day 1. I had no idea what to expect, and I was floored. The medical patients that came through that needed our help, the vets with post-traumatic stress that when I looked at them, they were empty. I've heard the worst stories. I've heard how bad the VAs are. I've had people who will not step foot in our facilities because they're afraid their guns are going to get taken away. They're afraid the VA will kick them to the street, and I have heard it all. I oppose Senate Bill 56 for many reasons, and you're going to hear every single one of them. So I'm going to take this a little different angle. I'm going to take it from where the rubber meets the road, with where we actually work with patients and the consumers and what our concerns are. Super glad to hear that the excise tax was dropped from 15 back to 10, but let's not fool ourselves. Excise tax is a sin tax. We're going to put a sin tax on this, but we're not going to put a sin tax on alcohol. We're not going to put a sin tax, well, tobacco is a kind of different world. And we do not condone smoking in a car. We don't condone operating a vehicle while smoking. We don't condone any THC and being in a vehicle. We have preached this from day 1. Our medical folks, if they weren't so good at following the rules, issue 2 would never had a chance to succeed because we've not had any problems at the medical level. Product restrictions, I guess, is probably one of the biggest things that we're going to see at the dispensary level. When we want to limit the extracts from 90% to 70%, we are, in effect, going to be pushing all the folks who have always been judgmental in our prices in Ohio, and they will go, I have to say the state up north now because we have a new lieutenant governor, and he will kick my butt Yes, I will do that. I've had this conversation so many times. I don't even want to have it anymore with patients, and people are like, I can get it cheaper. I can get it cheaper. And at some point, you're just like, well, go get it. I can't tell you, listen, they don't test like we do. They don't have the same processes. They don't handle it the same way. They don't have the same infrastructure. They don't have the same rules. It's a black market. So if you want to buy black market, go up there. And I'm sorry, I will move this along. The other thing we really don't want is the separation of the medical and adult products. The more hands that touch anything, they get screwed up. We hire nice, great people. They are not rocket scientists. I'm not a rocket scientist. Products that are on the right side of the vault and the left side of the vault, and we have to give this to the adult use, and we have to lock this down for the medical, it's too much work. Our rules were great. 2019, like seriously, on the medical side, we just didn't have any problem. We educated our patients. We told them, this is what you're supposed to do. This is not what you're supposed to do. And we worked with them, worked with them, and worked with them. Education is key. And I appreciate you guys. Seriously, I appreciate it because this is difficult. And it's hard even for me because I get so passionate about it. And these folks are 10 times more passionate than me. And I appreciate all of them being here as well. And that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'll feel free to answer.
Very good, Mr. Coble. Thank you for your testimony today. Are there any questions for this witness? Senator Timken.
Yeah. Can you talk to me a little bit about your objection for the separation of adult use and medical? You just said that your people who work in your dispensary educate people, especially the medical use individuals. Why are you objecting then to, because I assume that if there is no separation, someone just comes in, they either have a medical card or they're buying adult use, then there is no education happening.
So what we what we always try to avoid is an accidentally dispensing a product to somebody that we shouldn't dispense to. So people will do a pre-order. Online, you can order. We will fill those orders, put them in bags, have them ready for pickup. They obviously go back through each product, and if there's inadvertently somebody put a 50 milligram gummy that is in the same package of the 10 milligram gummy, and you're like, oh crap, we're not allowed to sell that one to this patient. It gets flagged in multiple places. But it's just the ordering, and this is a whole nother world. There are metric numbers that are attached to everything, things that come in as a delivery and get separated out. It just makes it harder. It's just, there's more opportunity for there to be an error. We will catch the error before it gets to the actual person because, again, medical and adult use. And adult use, you can come in as anonymous. So, and there's nothing to stop you as a, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, but you shouldn't come in as anonymous. Excuse me.
You are 100% allowed to come in, and if I don't want to go on record and have a complete log of who I am and everything I've purchased and all that information, you can log in, you can come into the dispensary as anonymous. So people who have gone over their daily use as a medical patient, and trust me, they need it. They're not just doing it because, hey, I just want to buy a bunch of weed. They need it, and if they run through their days, they can check back in as a rec, adult use user, I can't say rec, an adult use, and purchase whatever they want up to the 1 ounce, half ounce, 1 ounce limits. And it doesn't count against them on the medical side. So, as with anything, you can circumvent the rules, you can work around them, you can do the anonymous, you can come in as an adult use patient if you use up your medical days. But honestly, we just want common sense. We just want it to work for the dispensary. We want it to work, obviously, for the cultivators and the processors. And we have homes that are leveraged. One of the co-owners, Cindy, back here, the reason she's not up here speaking is because she flat out told me she's going to black out and fall down. Didn't want to put you guys through that. So I'm standing in for her to talk through this, but if you think of the SNL skit of Chris Farley, where he's talking about living in a box, you know, down by the river, that's 100% us. If these dispensaries don't make it, we're done. You don't get big bank loans from Bank of America and Fifth Third Bank and everything. They don't loan to us. They don't want us. They don't want our business. It's too hard. They have too many boxes they have to check, and their corporate litigation is like, no. So you have to do privatized capital, and you guys know how that works. It's a whole nother world.
Very good, thank you. Are any
Hope that
additional
helps.
questions? Nope. All right, seeing none, thanks for
Thank
being
you,
here today.
appreciate
Next, I'd like to call up Matthew William Hyde.
Hello.
You may begin whenever you're ready.
All right. Chair Rogner, Vice Chair Gavarone, Ranking Member Blackshear Jr., and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to provide opponent testimony today on Senate Bill 56. My name is Matthew W. Hyde of Advocates Cannabis, and I am here because of Senate Bill 56 and the adverse repercussions it would have on the citizens of Ohio and the future of cannabis in Ohio as well. Ohio Senate Bill 56 would negatively impact Ohio's patients, consumers, communities, and businesses it supports by altering the Citizen Passed Issue 2. From the removal of the Social Equity and Jobs Program, Level 3 cultivation, to the tax rate change, which has, of course, been changed now, and allocating tax revenue to the Ohio General Revenue Fund. There are 4 to 4 modifications that it originally had, but I'm just going to concentrate on a couple right now. First one is going to be the elimination of Social Equity and Jobs Program. SB 56 proposes to remove the Social Equity and Jobs Program, which was a vital part of Issue 2. Lots of people voted for that particular thing. This program aimed to address disparities in cannabis-related arrests and convictions, disproportionately affecting minority communities and those altered by the failed war on drugs. By creating opportunities for those communities to participate in the legal cannabis industry, the program sought to rectify past injustices and provide economic empowerment. Removing this program strips away the critical tool for fostering diversity and inclusion in the new industry. Ohio should collaborate with Ohioans and not abandon its commitment to equity. Number 2, removal of cultivation licensing opportunities. SB 56, Level 3 cultivation, removes Level 3 cultivation, thereby restricting the opportunities for small-scale cultivators to participate in the cannabis market. This change benefits larger corporations and limits the diversity of business ownership within the industry. Small-scale cultivators often bring innovation and community-based approaches that enrich the market. By limiting licenses, SB 56 reduces competition and opportunities for Ohioans interested in entering this space on a smaller scale, which could lead to industry consolidation by a few large players. Skip a couple other ones here. Just kind of go on to the end here. The fifth part I had was just undermining the democratic process. Most concerning is that SB 56 effectively overrides a citizen-driven initiative. Issue 2 was democratically passed by Ohio voters, and alternate disrespects their decision. The state legislature should respect the outcome of the election and allow the program to proceed as intended without prematurely altering key components before it has the chance to prove its effectiveness. In conclusion, Senate Bill 56 represents a step backward for Ohio's cannabis program, particularly in terms of social equity, economic opportunity, respect for the democratic process, and still so much more. It's a big waste of time. Instead of undermining the Citizen Passed Issue 2, the legislature should focus on supporting and improving the framework already in place by talking to Ohioans, your constituents, ensuring that it achieves its goals in fairness, inclusiveness, and long-term success for all Ohioans. There are several solutions to this wide-ranging bill, but the first is listening to the people of Ohio, and secondly, not allowing this bill to pass through committee. Thank you again, and I have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hyde, for your testimony. Are there any questions for this witness? All right, seeing none, thanks for being here. Next, I'd like to call up Simon Dunkel. Then Simon will be followed by Ariane Kirkpatrick, John Pantelides, Adam Sheff, Ronnie Smith, Brad Schultz, in that order. And as he's making his way to the podium, again, just out of respect for all those that are giving testimony today, try your best to limit your comments to 3 minutes. We have completed 10 out of the 25 that are here to testify, to tell you where we are in the process. Welcome to committee, Mr. Hyde. You may begin whenever you're ready.
Thanks very much. I'm trying to get my iPhone to cooperate, but I'm not sure it's going to. So I don't have my testimony in front of me, is the problem. Great. Well, do this on the fly like the rest of life. My name is Simon Peter Dunkel IV. I'm Executive Director of Ohio Normal. Also a former employee. I worked for Vern Reif, Merle Shoemaker, Betty Black, and Morris Tipton in the 114th General Assembly. I've been a marijuana advocate since 2009. Workers' comp in Ohio had me on morphine, Vicodin, Soma, Seroquel, and fentanyl every day, trying to raise 2 sons by myself. Dr. Ross at Grant Hospital, suggested I go to Michigan and get medicinal use or I'd be dead by 2012. I did that. Judge Geary in the Domestic Relations Court declared me a drug addict for smoking marijuana and took my kids. So that's the reason I've been an advocate for this time, because I'm not going away. Marijuana has helped me immensely through all my issues. Got through a black mold infection, which they're about to study me for, the effects and how that worked. As far as Senate Bill 56 is concerned, I'm not sure why we're here again. Because the Constitution was followed with issue 2. It was voted in at 57% majority. Why do we keep coming back and doing this? I mean, everybody in this room understands that you guys don't like marijuana and you really don't want anything to do with it, but you're willing to make millions of dollars off of it at the expense of the consumers in the state. That's just not right at any level. And when you take the medical program and consolidate with the recreational program, you're going to disrupt the lives of people like myself. I need Rick Simpson oil at the 90% rate, whether you guys like it or not. And having used medical marijuana for 50 years, or used marijuana for 50 years and medical marijuana in Ohio since 2019, I can tell you if you take it away, you can put me on the list to arrest first, because I will not stop using it. I will not stop making my own edibles and medications, because it's highly unethical for you guys to give us the right to use it as patients and then manipulate like this over the years, just constantly haranguing us, getting us come genuflect in front of you to just keep these changes, these horrific, stupid changes from taking place. Just stop it, you know? With Ohio Normal, we started doing decriminalization in Ohio in 1975 with Richard Wolff. So it's not like you can't work with us. I'm right here. I've attempted so many times. I've been blocked by numerous emails and servers in the governor's office, not for my content, but for my constancy. You know, if you respond to me, I'll stop writing. But you know, the point is, this is wrong. It's a total, you know, debasement of the whole program and marijuana in Ohio. Stop manipulating it. Stop making it more difficult for consumers, because they're the only ones paying the price for this program. Making millions of dollars for a bunch of people. The only people that aren't protected are the consumers. There's no criminal justice reform. There's no discrimination language. I mean, you know, everybody from the dispensary south is covered, but you step out the door and it's 1974 and the consumer gets nailed. I was denied EMS transportation in Toledo back in November of 21 because I was a medical marijuana patient. I was denied assistance from the Bureau of Voc Rehab, declared a cannabis abuser, and less than 2 weeks later was asked to head Ohio Normal.
All right, good. All right, thank you, Mr. Dunkel, for your testimony. Are there any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you. Calling up Ariane Kirkpatrick. Ariane Kirkpatrick, welcome to committee. You may begin whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So I'm going to read from this carefully written, polite testimony that my team wrote, because if you heard my story and my personal testimony as a Black woman business owner, it would bring you to tears. So here's my carefully written testimony. My name is Ariane Kirkpatrick, CEO of Mavuno, a retail dispensary in Athens, Ohio. This summer, we will open 2 new dispensaries in Ohio in the Cleveland area. We were formerly known as Harvest of Ohio, and we were once vertically integrated. The first Black, the first woman vertically integrated in the state of Ohio, me. We're a small Black and female-owned, family-operated cannabis retail business. Our path into the cannabis industry came as a result of Ohio's failed social equity program. Although the social equity provided access, the road to opening our facilities and receiving our certificates of operation was challenging. Given decades of experience as a business owner in the construction industry and as the chief of housing in Warrensville Heights under the mayorship of Marcia L. Fudge, former U.S. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, I was able to transfer my business skills to realize a successful cannabis company with the support of a dynamic team. Raised by a mother who was a school teacher and a father who worked in sales, not marijuana sales, my sister Monica and I, who's the COO of Mavuno, and I have always believed in the power of education to inform inspire, and transform lives. As policymakers, you want to consider advancements in critical research to gain additional education to make informed decisions that can help people in our communities learn and thrive. I stand here today committed to create pathways to careers in cannabis and advocating for those looking to access this industry. My experiences have shown me the importance of reaching back and helping others on their journey so they don't face the same obstacles that I did, so they can begin with a fair and equitable playing field. It's essential that we establish cannabis industry-specific programs focused on economic growth and workforce development. This will provide training and certifications needed to help people build careers in this industry, creating thousands of job opportunities. It will establish clear industry standards, making sure businesses and employees understand regulations, safety protocols, and responsible operations. It could offer financial support like grants and low-interest loans to help cannabis owners and operators grow their businesses. It will strengthen collaboration between businesses and regulators, ensuring the cannabis industry expands in a way that is sustainable, responsible, and boosts jobs and economic growth. Not the unregulated smoke shops opening on every corner. They not like us. The future of the cannabis industry here in Ohio relies on collaboration, and perhaps more importantly, to continue to create a program that our voters voted on. In a climate where lots of sweeping changes are being made in our political system and the way we do business, let's not be the culprits of not listening to the will of the people. The people spoke to us for social equity. The people spoke to legalize medical and eventually adult use cannabis in Ohio. Let's not pick and choose when to make it by the people and for the people. Let's not be that state. In closing, regulations are important. We do not want to be like our neighbors in Michigan. We want to be a responsible market where the community thrives, business owners thrive, and the state of Ohio thrives. The war on drugs is real and has not stopped with Drugs Are Anslinger. It's not about being woke, it's about being awake. Thank you for allowing our voices to be heard today, and I pray you listen.
Thank you, Ms. Kirkpatrick. Are there any questions for this witness? Senator DeMora.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Kirkpatrick, since you're going to open 2 dispensaries in the Cleveland area, as you said, how worried are you if this bill passes with increased excise taxes and lower THC levels about opening those businesses? How much do you think you'll be hurt by people going to the state up north? I won't use the M word here, but ever. But are you worried about opening 2 dispensaries if this bill passes? Because are you worried about people in the Cleveland area driving an hour and a half over to the state up north?
I definitely am, and one of the reasons that I'm worried is because here in Ohio, many of the businesses are, I say local, state-owned. You have those big MSOs, and there's nothing wrong with MSOs. Everybody's out to make money, but they can afford to pay those taxes, to write off those taxes, to find shortcuts on how to get around it. The homegrown businesses here in Ohio, the people that live here, work here every day, we're going to be affected. And we need to really think about our Ohioans, our Ohio businesses.
Very good. Senator Blackshear.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for your testimony. Can you talk about how many people you currently employ, and then with you opening up 2 new dispensaries, how many more people will be working under you?
I am proud to say that we have 46 employees. Those include the ones that work at our Athens location. We once were vertically integrated, where we own cultivation and processing, and we had 92 employees. A majority of our employees were females and minorities. That was something proud, because we are very important about engagement, exposure, and empowerment, where all are included to participate in this business. We will open up more, we will have more employees, and they're from bud tenders to our executive team, from directors of marketing, public relations, business development.
Senator Blackshear with a follow-up.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, for the follow-up. Thank you so much for that answer. I guess my next question is, Can you talk a little bit about some of the conversations you've had with the local government in which these dispensaries are in? Has it been positive, neutral, or can you just talk about that just a little bit?
It seems the talk that's been here lately has been just on the many unfortunate smoke shops that have opened and asking for our help on how we can help assist with that. And I do understand that because I spoke here with the gentleman from Michigan, and they talked about their program there, and then they talked about their attrition rate, how many businesses that they lost, how it saturated communities, and especially in urban communities. So we want to be a part of the solution, not the problem. We've met with Director Canepa. We really like the way that he's brought the business sense and the professional sense to the alcohol industry, and for him to come into this industry, we welcome that. And we do welcome regulation. We don't want to see an oversaturation. We don't want to see our communities. We don't want to pull up on the highway and the first thing you see are these big, gigantic signs of advertising that's not about what our business truly is, about the education and the professionalism in the cannabis industry here in Ohio.
Thank you.
Very good. Any additional questions? All right, seeing none, thanks for your testimony today.
Thank you.
I'd like to call up John, and forgive me for this last name, you're going to have to help me with this. Pantelides. And he'll be followed by Adam Sheff, Ronnie Smith, Brad Schultz, and Don Wertschafter. All right, welcome. All right, I will circle back to John. I will call up Adam Sheff now. Adam Sheff, welcome to committee. You may start whenever you're ready.
Hello, thanks for having me today. It's a first time thing for me, so I appreciate the opportunity to wear this suit for the second time in 4 years. I've been utilizing cannabis for almost 30 years. I'm enthusiastic about the subject of orthomolecular medicine, which is the treatment of disease and disorders through nutrition. I'm here today to speak about some of my concerns with the proposed changes to current cannabis legislation that are outlined in SB 56. My overwhelming opinion of SB 56 is that it should be torn up and thrown in the trash due to the complete disregard for the voters of the state. I believe that is a waste of your time and my time, and it is a punch to the gut of the voters that turned out in the state back in 2023. But I've narrowed down my testimony today to a few main bullet points. Number one concern with SB 56 is that the people of the state voted for 12 plants and the right to share their homegrown product. Other concerns with SB 56 are the increase in the excise tax from 10 to 15% and the restrictions on transport of homegrown product. I'll start with the tax. There seems to be an overwhelming theme in the state legislature and in SB 56 of a goal to dismantle the black market in the state of Ohio. Certainly most of us here realize that price predicates almost everything in our lives. Raising the excise tax is not going to dismantle the black market in the state of Ohio. It will most certainly encourage black market sales and production in the state. If you truly want to dismantle the black market in Ohio, lowering the price point is the path to achieving this goal. It can be easily achieved through healthy competition, utilizing small and craft Tier 3 grows, more processors, and more dispensaries. Perhaps the best path would be to put a price cap on how much dispensaries and cultivators are allowed to charge on their product. Transport. With concerns with the issue of transport is that cannabis is something that is meant to be shared. If you can't transport the product, you cannot share the product. The wording contained in SB 56 pertaining to transport is going to regulate cannabis as if it were a firearm. People would need to put it in the trunk of their car. Meanwhile, you can drive around freely with entire cases of liquor, which is a physically addictive and highly intoxicating substance, on your front seat. When regulating cannabis, I feel it's extremely important to consider that cannabis is overwhelmingly safer than alcohol, and it should be regulated as such. I'd like to finish today speaking about home grow plant count and the right to share the product with our of-age neighbors, our friends, and our families. Cannabis is extremely useful in increasing the quality of life for people that have a wide range of debilitating disease, including but not limited to multiple sclerosis, cancer, insomnia, everyday ailments, nausea, body aches associated with the flu, assistance in addiction recovery, which is a huge societal issue. I heard that language in some of the proponent testimony, I think. There's a very long list in the bill for qualifying medical conditions. I don't need to read them all. The medicinal benefits of the complex plant are too vast to regulate in the way that SB56 wants to regulate. But I'll focus today on cancer because who here in this room has not been touched in some way, shape, or form by that particular disease? Most of us, unfortunately, have. In my experience with cannabis and cancer, I've had many conversations with terminal cancer patients who never otherwise would have utilized the plant in their lives before their cancer diagnosis. Many of these people have told me that cannabis had given their lives back to them. That's a direct quote from multiple close personal contacts of mine that did not survive their fight with their form of cancer. One of those people particularly just wanted to be able to make lunch for his 9-year-old daughter. Cannabis gave that to him for several years before he passed away at a very young age. I currently have several people that I share my homegrown product with that are now able to sleep regularly. They eat and they accomplish what would otherwise be mundane tasks for a healthy and able-bodied person. Just last week, I transported and gifted some homegrown product to a neighbor who's been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. This man walks around with a drain and a bag to catch the drainage that comes out of his stomach. He is most certainly not physically capable of cultivating his own medicine. And as you can imagine, he's not in a financial position to purchase a medicinal product that's not covered by health insurance. I, being an able-bodied person, am not able to grow and share this product with him currently, but I'm highly motivated to do so. I got a message from his wife the next day. She wanted me to know that he had not slept that soundly since his diagnosis almost a year ago. This is why I would argue that not only do we need and deserve the right to share our homegrown product, but I would also argue that 12 plants is not enough. We need more. Not only do home growers face many challenges in cultivating cannabis, including pests, disease, weather events. A single hailstorm could destroy an entire outdoor crop. And one of the biggest reasons for failure in our state is the inexperience with the plant. We need to be able to grow enough product to share with our neighbors that can and do benefit from this plant in their last days. So I'm here today for the first time asking all of you to consider the bill with compassion, some wisdom, some discernment, and some grace, and throw it up and put it in the trash where it belongs.
Mr. Sheff, thank you so much for your testimony. Are there any questions for this witness? I have to ask everyone to refrain from outbursts. Just we have to maintain decorum in our committee room. Thank you. And next, I'd like to call up Ronnie Smith. Welcome to committee.
Madam Chair, members of the Senate, thanks for having me. My name is Ronnie Smith. I'm a disabled veteran, and my cannabis brand is called Ohio Boys. I was born and raised in Athens, Ohio. After graduating high school, I found myself in constant trouble with alcohol, so I signed up for the Army. I was assigned to the 101st Airborne Division, Air Assault. I deployed to Baghdad, Iraq in 2005, where I was also promoted to sergeant. Shortly after returning home from the war, I was medically discharged from the Army. Little did I know, my war just began. I was spent from 2007 to 2018 battling my addictions and lots of anger from the war. I used the VA during these years and was led down the path of prescription pills. I was heavily medicated on benzos and opiates for my post-war problems. Unfortunately, the pills created many more problems for me, and I found myself more lost than ever. This is where cannabis comes into my life in a huge way. Started growing cannabis around 2007, shortly after returning home. During this time, I was busted 4 times indoors, in and out of jail, constantly fighting cases while fighting for this plant. Started fighting for legalization in 2013, was a vice president and the Veteran Affairs representative for Southeast Ohio NORML. I helped collect signatures for decriminalization across the state of Ohio. I'm currently part of a panel that teaches a home grow workshop at the Cannabis Museum in Athens, Ohio, where I'm also a veteran advocate for cannabis. During the holidays, I was able to give many veterans in Athens County free marijuana. These veterans were happy to receive the free medicine. Most of the veterans I met in person, they told me a little bit about their lives. All were similar, some kind of addiction story. Whether it's alcohol or prescription pills, they were all stuck somewhere. I received lots of feedback from these veterans, and most of them told me that the cannabis helped them more than anything. These veterans are stuck at home living off whatever the government gives them. They can't afford to buy cannabis they need and don't know how to grow it.
I've been able to help these veterans and other members of my community by giving them medicine or teaching them how to grow their own. Senate Bill 56 will put a stop to me giving medicine that works to people who need it, and that's just wrong. This past year in Ohio has been like a dream for many of us. We've been able to live free and enjoy the life we have fought so hard for. But here we are again with another challenge. If the cannabis laws in place need adjusted, then I feel like it should be done by someone who understands cannabis. Mr. Huffman obviously has no idea about cannabis from his presentation of the bill. Thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Very good, Mr. Smith. Thank you, first of all, for your service to our country and the 101st Airborne. Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions for this witness? No? Seeing none? Thank you. All right, next I'd like to call up Brad Schultz, and he will be followed by John Wertschafter, John Crossier, the Joey Elwood, and Daryl Leffingwell. Welcome to committee, Mr. Schultz. You may begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Chair Rogner, Vice Chair Gavarone, Ranking Member Blackshear, and members of this committee, thank you for allowing me to testify here today in opposition to Senate Bill 56. My name is Brad Schultz, and I'm the accountant for Northwoods Cannabis, a Level 2 cultivator and processor located in East Palestine, Ohio. While I disagree with many of the changes proposed in Senate Bill 56, there are three in particular that I would like to mention and one that I will highlight. The three problematic provisions are the reduction of cultivation space for both Level 1 and Level 2 cultivators, the reduction of THC potency limits, and the increase in excise tax rate above 10%. I've submitted a written testimony that details my opposition to the change of THC potency limits and increase in excise tax rate. I know that many of my peers here today plan to address those issues, so I'll focus my oral testimony on the proposed reduction of cultivation capacity. When Issue 2 was passed by the citizens of Ohio in 2023, Level 1 and Level 2 cultivators were granted a maximum cultivation capacity of 100,000 square feet and 15,000 square feet, respectively. Senate Bill 56 proposes reducing these limits to a maximum of 75,000 square feet for Level 1 cultivators and 9,000 square feet for Level 2 cultivators. This represents a decrease of 25% reduction in capacity for Level 1 cultivators and a 40% reduction in capacity for Level 2 cultivators. As you can see, this reduction of canopy space disproportionately hurts the small businesses that make up the Level 2 cultivator group. Furthermore, our Level 2 cultivation business, Northwoods Cannabis, has relied on the green light that we received from the Issue 2 voters and made significant financial investments to expand our cultivation capacity to a 15,000 square foot facility in Clyde, Ohio. If Senate Bill 56 passes as it is currently written, it would retroactively undermine the investments we've already made and would be detrimental to our business plan and future operations. In addition, by comparing the most recent sales data between Ohio and our neighbor, Michigan, it is evident that a reduction of cultivation capacity negatively impacts the citizens of Ohio and the state as a whole. I chose to compare data to Michigan's cannabis industry given that state's proximity to Ohio and the fact that many Ohio citizens openly commute to Michigan to purchase cannabis products there, rather than purchasing from local Ohio establishments. As of February 10th, 2025, the Ohio Division of Cannabis Control reported the average retail price of 1 gram of cannabis flower was $6.74. In Michigan, where cultivation capacity is far greater, the data from the Michigan Cannabis Regulatory Agency reveals that the average retail price of 1 gram of cannabis flower was $2.38 as of January 31st. That means that right now, 1 gram of cannabis flower is 2.8 times more expensive in Ohio than in Michigan. If the state hopes to see the benefits of a healthy cannabis industry via increased tax revenue, reducing the available supply of cannabis in Ohio will only exacerbate these retail price discrepancies. When this happens, consumers will continue to purchase their cannabis out of state or worse from the unregulated, untaxed, and unsafe illicit market that is very much prevalent in Ohio today, resulting in a significant loss of tax dollars to our state. In short, I would ask that the Senate strike the reductions of cultivation capacity from Senate Bill 56 to avoid a detrimental financial impact to Ohio's cannabis operators, to prevent making Ohio-produced cannabis even more uncompetitive, and protect Ohio's cannabis industry tax base. Thank you for your time today. This concludes my testimony. I welcome any questions the committee may have.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Schultz. Are there any questions for this witness? Nope. All right, seeing none, thank you. Excuse me. Next, I'd like to call Don Wertschafter. And as he's making his way up, we'll have John Cossier, Joey Elwood, Daryl Leffingwell, and then Fatty
Bomitri. All right, welcome to committee, Mr. Wirtschafter.
You may begin whenever you're
I assume
ready.
you want this microphone up.
The one on the podium
that's it.
works.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. My name is, Madam Chairman and members of the committee, my name is Don Wirtschafter. I'm an attorney in Athens, Ohio. I get to be the old man in the room here. I've had a long career in legal cannabis. I was involved with creation of the Ohio Hempery in the early 1980s and was one of the pioneers of the industrial hemp movement. 10 years later, I found myself investing in European research that created what is now medical marijuana, the prescription grade of medical marijuana, and I was involved with the 200 trials and the hundreds of millions of dollars of effort it took in Europe to get marijuana prescriptions legal both in Europe, and Epidiolex is legal in the United States. So I've had a long history with that. I've also studied the cannabis movement on behalf of that effort and studied what people want and consumers want. And from this experience, I've come to tell you that this is a mistake. The whole time that we were advocating for changes in cannabis law, the feeling was, if we could just get them to make cannabis legal, and they'll see that the roof didn't fall in, and maybe they'll get, loosen up about some of the other problems we're having about drugs in the country. And we did that. 16, 18 months ago, we made cannabis legal in Ohio. And people are being respectful. We're not having big problems. The statistics aren't in all the way yet, but look at the new statistics from the State Highway Patrol. We don't have the Highway Patrol here coming to try to make us change the driving laws because the statistics show that we have a continuing decrease in traffic accidents. As cannabis substitutes for alcohol, we're getting our roads safer and safer and safer. This should be embraced and not treated otherwise. I don't have an objection for combining this all into one agency. We treat lambs and chickens and lions all in the Department of Agriculture, but we don't try to make one set of regulations for these three different animals. We have sets of regulations for lambs and what lamb has to look like when you take it to market, things like that. We have all kinds of regulations about how you take care of lions. I just want to make sure that we don't take our industrial hemp, gentle as a lamb, and treat it like a lion here in Ohio. Thank you very much. I stand for any questions.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any questions for this witness? I actually do. Who are you here representing?
I'm here for myself.
Representing yourself.
I am the creator of the Cannabis Museum in Athens, Ohio. Through my career, I was able to snap up all of the cannabis antiques in the world. And so I invite anybody to come down and see this.
All right. Very good. Thank you very much for your testimony today. I'd like to call up John Crossier next. He's from Soiled Obsessions and Appalachian Girls Cannabis Company.
Howdy.
Hi. Welcome to committee.
I smoked 10 joints today. And I'm not talking pinners. I'm talking hog legs. And you can imagine how blessed and appreciative I am to have the opportunity of the overwhelmingly majority vote of Ohioans stand behind me on issue 2. The benefit here is because I'm so appreciative, I'm going to help connect you with how you can minimize the disconnect between cannabis business, legislators, and the actual cannabis culture. Chair Rogner, Senator Gavarone, Senator Blackshear, if he's still here. My name is Josh Crozier. I have an associate's degree in natural resources management from Hocking College. I have a bachelor's in science from the University of Rio Grande in environmental science. I am also a proud master's of science in sustainable agriculture from Ohio University. So I'm somewhat above average at environmental things, cannabis history. However, I am a world-class father, right? Barbie fashion designer. I'm the Frank Lloyd Wright of Fort Cushion designing. I am the real-life version of Bluey's dad, Bandit. Seriously, my BF is Ken, okay? So, as a girl dad, you can imagine how enthusiastic I am when it's time to build with Legos, right? So what do you do when your 5-year-old begins to, she has all the tools in the world to build something magical here, but the foundation isn't right? Well, as a world-class father, you let her burn and let that thing crash so that she can learn on her own. Ohio does not have this luxury with Senate Bill 56. We're getting whooped by Michigan, right? And not just Michigan, the rest of the country, due to some of the disadvantages that we have here, right? So this bill essentially, initially wanted to increase tax instead of looking at increasing the number of dispensaries, okay? And then when our sponsor was talking about how 10 joints a day was too excessive and how it contributes to the black market, what do you think increase in taxes does? What do you think what limiting the number of dispensaries does? You know, what about not even considering tier 3 cultivation, right? This is where the craft comes in to our beloved plant, is the tier 3. Okay, it's like drinking Jackie O's brewery beer, handcrafted from Athens, Ohio, with essential flavors and freshness in it, right? We don't have this opportunity in Ohio. So that's why home grow is going to exist, because of the fact that, hey, why would somebody go pay double the price for a lot of times inferior quality? And it ain't the big box store's fault, right? They serve a great place on this market. However, essentially, especially down in Athens and Meigs County, nobody's running to go buy something at increased tax prices. And one of the other problems I would like to talk about this is growing cannabis indoors for edibles and tinctures and concentrations. This makes absolutely no sense. The carbon footprint associated with producing these cannabis indoors for things like edibles and concentrates, that's part of spiking up this price. The only thing that really deserves some lights is some craft cannabis, in my opinion. Okay, so then let's talk about January 29th, the proponent night to this speech. We had Steve Barnett up here talking about home grow transportation. This is actually absurd to me. Cannabis is all about sharing. That's what this culture is about. And if legislation and big cannabis businesses don't kind of all come together on this, I just don't see how the future is. That guy also seems very excited about incarcerating people for cannabis. I must note, this is scaremongering. Rick Carfagna came on here about the drug-free workplace. I can't dispute that. I have nothing bad to say about that. However, he talked about public use of cannabis. For us that have children, we don't want to clam bake and smoke inside of our house. We ought to be able to walk to a park, walk down to Wayne National Forest, get outdoors and consume cannabis as long as it's not inside of a ticketed event.
Thank you. I would just ask you to wrap up your comments if you could, just for out of respect for those that are waiting to go after you.
Okay, and I appreciate that, Senator Rodner. Rob Crane, your last guest, had 8 minutes on the proponent night, so I'm trying to wrap that up. This was fear-mongering at its worst. Like he said, cannabis companies, they want to hit your kids hard. They want to hit your kids strong. They want to take their brains and physiologically transform them. I don't believe in this fear-mongering. It's not about fighting over money, restrictions, selling tickets to rehab facilities. It's about caring, sharing, self-care, gardening. I see that I need to wrap it up, so I'll just pray that you guys have the wisdom, discernment, and grace to stop looking at this from a negative lens and start thinking about the endless possibilities and combinations that that all these terpenes, cannabinoids, and flavonoids can offer to mankind.
All right, very good. Mr. Kosher, thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions for this witness? Nope. All right, seeing none, thank you again. Next, I'd like to call up Joey Elwood. Thank you.
Afternoon, I'll try to be efficient with your time.
I appreciate that, thank you.
So my name's Joey Elwood. I'm with Appalachian Girls Cannabis, and I also have a hemp farm, Modern Remedies. We're one of 7 hemp farms left here in Ohio. It used to be 24 a few months ago. That's changed. So I'm coming to you today from 3 different angles. 1, as a hemp farmer. 2, as a patient. And 3, as an employee benefits advisor for health insurance for companies who spend a lot of money on pharmaceuticals. Ohio has an energy crisis right now. Why are we growing plants inside with lights? Josh hit it on the head. It's insane. So I just wanted to make mention of that as we go down through this. First, as a farmer, personally, I know cannabis is grown outside for around $40 to $60 per pound. Inside, it's around $400 to $600 per pound. Benzinga Cannabis just released an article that said indoor cannabis can use up to 100 times the amount of a Walmart to grow inside. What are we doing? Josh made mention, smokable cannabis is craft cannabis. That's indoors. That's what we're doing. That state up north, whipping the pants off of us because we're growing plants indoors. The sun's free. Let's use it. Okay? 7 farms left, energy crisis. Now we move on to me as a patient. I'm a heavy cannabis user, a hemp user, CBD, CBN. I'm all about quality and cost. That state up north, they're growing oil outside. Very cost efficient. Yeah, you could argue about the tests and different things, but when you have that much abundance, you have the ability to have quality, and you can also drive the cost down. So as someone who's entering into the high THC cannabis market with a brand, as well as someone who has a hemp farm, it's really challenging for me to understand why it is we're not looking to combine those 2 options. I know independent cannabis processors here in Ohio would love to not be beholden to mold remediated terrible product that they're just waiting on. Like, what are we doing? Let's increase access and supply. Somebody said it earlier, it's like chocolate in a chocolate factory. It's been here for some time now. Now, as a group benefits advisor, data drives agendas. I'm sorry, agendas drive data, not the other way around. Let's be clear about that. So the reality is there's a major research gap as it relates to cannabis. There's no federal funding. You can't patent a plant like you can pharmaceuticals. It's kind of silly, right? When I have someone come up to my wife and say, I no longer have to take gabapentin anymore, or you know what, I don't have to get on these anxiety-ridden drugs anymore. I can get off of that because of your plants, because I can grow this outside now. That to me is why I think we ought to maybe grow hemp outside. Please remove lines 428 through 430. Or it's, I think in the substitute bill, it's 450 through 452. You directly state hemp farmers can't grow cannabis or marijuana outside. We've been working with the Ohio Farm Bureau. That's right. They support this. Ohio hemp farmers ought to be able to grow high THC cannabis outside. Josh said it, craft cannabis, smokable, indoors, pretty cut and dry. 20 other states are growing cannabis outside. Let's get with it. Lastly, I would just share, there's a work in progress clause right here. If someone could pass this around. No, it's okay if not. Oh, well, this says CBC on it as well as high THC. CBN's another one for sleep. This is in the medicinal market. I'm a hemp farmer, okay? These minor cannabinoids that are all the rage right now, I can't sell my hemp, my CBD or my high CBG crops into a medical marijuana. They have to buy it from another state. So when we developed this adult language and we were all about Ohio cannabis coming from Ohio, I'm sorry, what happened to the hemp farmers? Because there's 7 of us left and hemp is cannabis. Sorry, I'm passionate and I'm available for any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Elwood, for your testimony today. I appreciate that. Are there any questions for this witness? No? Very good. Thank you for being here. I'd like to call up Daryl Leffingwell next from the Ohio Veterans Alliance for Medical Cannabis. He's the founder and CEO. Welcome to committee.
Hello, senators, chairperson, ladies. Thank you. I don't hear very well. Please bear with me. It's not very often you have an outlaw come to the stand in Ohio. I'm a 40-year grower. I grew up underneath my dad's family tree. Everybody's heard of the Meg's Gold strain. It's more about a story that's contained within, and the veterans who brought that medicine here from overseas, risked their lives, continuing to fight wars, even the veterans coming home today. Hello, my name is Darrell Leffingwell, founder of Ohio Veterans Alliance for Medical Cannabis, a nonprofit in the state of Ohio working as an advocate for veterans regarding important cannabis issues, law changes, and reform. We as a veterans group oppose Senate Bill 56. It poses a significant threat to the rights that Ohio voters have chosen regarding legalized cannabis. Senate Bill 56 undermines this choice by effectively gutting our rights. It would also drastically impact and go against established medical patient and prescribed care, a program that is considered essential, as well as the home growing provision that we voted for in Ohio's election in 2023. The veterans feel it is unjust and immoral to change a program still in development since recent legalization, especially when the time has not been taken to hear the veterans yet. It's taken me 6 years to get to where I'm at right here. Bear with me. The veterans feel it's unjust, immoral, to reiterate again, to change a program still in development since the legalization. The need far outweighs what the program can provide currently. Restrictions and unnecessary control is the problem. It only leads to people still going out of the state for their needs, both adult use and medical, even with legalization here in Ohio. SB 56 clearly prevents veterans from healing naturally from things like PTSD. I don't even want to begin, coming from 27 medicines a day to where I'm at now, standing here fighting with things that I don't even want to begin to talk about. My sons and I, we work in industry. I have a lot of veterans here with me today. Jason Wilson, he's probably already left. We've got a lot of veterans here. Can I show by hand whose veterans are here today? Ronnie Smith, bless you, brother. It only leads to people still going out of the state, like I said. The SB 56 clearly prevents veterans from healing naturally from things like PTSD. We voted for freedom, not more restrictions. SB 56 goes against the will of the people. It would also degrade our current program, making it less effective in Ohio. Legalized cannabis has brought numerous benefits to our state, including regulating the industry, generating tax revenue, and providing medical relief to many Ohioans, especially our veterans. Adult use includes medical and growing. Let's have compassion, some love, by opposing Senate Bill 56. You will be upholding the integrity of our democratic process and honor the will of the voters and our honorable veterans in Ohio. Please expand protections by voting against Senate Bill 56, ensuring that the progress we have made is not undone and that the choice of Ohio voters are respected and maintained and not become a struggle for power and control anymore. Thank you for serving Ohio. Thank you for your time and hearing me out after many years of prohibition and those of our veterans still healing in this nation. Vote no on SB 56. Thank you.
Mr. Leffingwell, thank you. And you said you were the founder of Ohio Veterans Alliance for Medical Cannabis, and you yourself are a veteran?
Yes, ma'am,
Well,
I am.
Thank you for your service. Are there any questions for this witness?
Now, I just wanted to stop right to let you know that we are more than halfway through the testimony. And as you have heard, it's been some very powerful testimony here. Just listening to some of the people speak and their passion, just like Darrell. Thank you, sir, for your service, sir. And your testimony was very powerful. And like he said, stick with me because there's more to hear. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe button, share this video with as many people. We're trying to help people know about this. I am going to put the original link to where this video is located in the description of the video once the video ends. I can't do it while we're live streaming because I've been having some technical issues and I don't want to mess up the video. But again, make sure you keep following us because we're going to keep trying to stay on top of this. We're trying to get the other news medias to cover this. We're trying to get this town hall. So just stick with it. You know, we got a lot to do. It's not over yet.
No, seeing none, thank you for being here. Our next witness is Fadi Bomitri. Okay, well, if his wife is in labor, they've got other things going on. I'll call up Jeffrey Korf. From Hudson.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Madam Chairwoman Rogner, Vice Chair Gavarone, Ranking Member Black, Shear, and honorable members of this committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Jeff Korf. I'm the CEO and founder of Gleanus LLC. We are a level 2 cultivator based out of Akron, Ohio. We currently have 23 full-time equivalent staff, and under the assumption that Ohio Revised Code Section 3780 stays relatively intact, our intent is to have approximately 40 full-time equivalent employees within the next 6 months or so. A lot of issues have been talked about already today, and in the interest of time, I'm going to limit my comments to 2. The first item I'm going to speak to is the capacity restriction that is happening under SB56 with regard to us. We're a level 2, we're a small grower. Current language in 3780 would allow us to expand up to 15,000 square feet, and then with approval from the Department of Commerce, again, up to 20,000 square feet. Under this bill, our capacity is limited to 3,000 square feet, and then with approval from Commerce, potentially up to 9,000 square feet. The reduction in capacity is problematic for a couple of different reasons. One, as the level 2 cultivators in the state, we are already a very small piece of Ohio's cannabis program. Under the original medical program, the level 2 cultivator capacity, sort of in terms of an overall market allocation, was somewhere in the neighborhood of 12% of the overall cultivation capacity in the state, just based on square footage. This would take us down to, if everybody maxed out, about 5.6% of the overall capacity in the state. So we're taking the smallest businesses in the market and we're essentially forcing them to become even smaller from a market share standpoint. The second problem with the reducing the capacity is we've now had 3780 in effect for more than a year. Many businesses in Ohio, including my own, have already started expanding under the language of 3780 and have invested collectively millions of dollars in growing their businesses. And so I think the legal argument would be that we all are assuming we have a vested property interest in the new capacity that was granted by statute under 3780. And so if everybody is already expanding, relying on that language, and has already invested in new capacity, that the outcome, I think, is likely to be litigation in order to protect the investment that's already taken place, and we would obviously very much hope to avoid that. So the proposal is that we would like very much to see our capacity continue to remain at 15,000 square feet with the ability to expand up to 20,000 square feet with approval of the Department of Commerce, as is currently the case with 3780. And the second issue I'm going to highlight is quite unique to us as a level 2 cultivator. We're not vertically integrated in Ohio, which means we don't have a processing license. We will have a dispensary license in a couple of months. We hope to have it up and running. I apologize.
Bless you.
But one of the things that has been done by SB56, I don't know inadvertently or not, is that currently we sell to dispensaries all around the state of Ohio. We sell to something like 90 dispensaries across the state. All of our business relationships are with dispensaries. We don't do a whole lot of business with processors. But this bill would restrict us to only selling to processors. There's language in this statute that would restrict us from selling directly to dispensaries. We would have to use processors as effectively distributors for our products. That's problematic because we don't have business relationships with processors. We're going to lose margin. We're going to lose margin if we have to do that, and it effectively forces us to use our our competitors as our distributors, which is not a relationship or a situation that exists in other industries. I think the analog is the alcohol industry, where there's 3 levels of separation between producers, distributors, and retailers, but the distributors aren't competing with the producers in that industry. In this case, we would be competing directly with our distributors. And so the proposal on that matter is to amend Section 3796 to allow cultivators to sell directly to dispensaries and maintain the current and effective sales model. No one up to this point in the various conversations have explained to me what the purpose, I guess, is of restricting our ability to continue to do business directly with the retailers. And so I'm not able to quite grasp why this was introduced in the first place. The final illustration I'll use on this subject is we will have a dispensary that we're going to operate in the near term, within the next couple of months. This law would require us to sell to a third party before we're able to actually distribute to ourselves. So we'd have to transship to another processor, and then that third party would have to, again, ship to us at our retail location. And so it creates a logistical burden that didn't previously exist. It makes the whole distribution footprint of the state drastically more inefficient. And for the companies like mine that are just standalone cultivation licenses, it makes our cost structure much more challenging.
All right.
And that's it. I greatly appreciate your time. Thank you for hearing everyone today.
Mr. Korf, thank you. And any questions for this witness? No? Seeing none? Thanks. Good to see you here.
You as well. Thank you.
I'd like to call up our last 3. We have Julie Duran, followed by Margot Suzek, and then James Powers. Welcome to committee.
Thank you. Good afternoon, General Government Committee, Chair Rogner, Vice Chair Gavarone, Ranking Member Blackshear, and all other committee members. My name is Julie Dorn. I'm owner of Meg's Fertilizer, Ohio Friends and Family CBD products, also Trichome Crops Farm, and I founded the Ohio Hemp Farmers Cooperative. I just would like to mention that beginning 2019, when we passed the hemp bill in Ohio, we had almost 170 hemp licensed farmers in the state. 4 or 5 years later, we have 7. That's what happens when government oversight overregulates and closes an industry down before it gets started. So thank you for allowing my testimony on Senate Bill 56. I'm asking that we don't take away from the adult use cannabis issue 2 currently passed. It was voted and approved by the Ohio voters, the same voters who voted for you in the election. I haven't seen any actual proof as to the harm cannabis has caused or where these changes would help any certain situation. What this bill is doing is just more stringent government oversight and still trying to control a God-given plant. Why are we still holding meetings over this plant? I know a big reason why the government fights so hard against the legalization of cannabis. It's the money that you very senators take in and spend however you like in pushing certain nonsense bills like Senate Bill 56. Specifically, the healthcare industry, amongst others, do not want this natural remedy to be available to anyone. Looking back through the years, we've had many legalization issues with cannabis, marijuana, or hemp. It seems that most all of these bills have Senator Stephen Huffman all over them. Do you know that over 75% of his contributions come directly from the healthcare industry? With all the backdoor politics, I ask that you do not pass this bill or any other bill related to any form of cannabis that Senator Huffman introduces. Senator Huffman is personally out to harm the cannabis industry and its legalization through the years. It's a conflict of interest with his major contributors, and for that reason, I ask that this committee do not pass or waste your time on any other bills from Senator Stephen Huffman. Any questions?
Are there any questions for this witness? No. Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. I would ask respectfully that you refrain from any personal attacks against senators. Senator Stephen Huffman is a very valued colleague. He is actually right now helping people in Kentucky, rescuing them from the floods. So he's a very good person, and it's an honor to work with him. The next person I'd like to call up is Margot Suzek, and then followed by James Powers. Welcome to committee.
Hi. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I just wanted to get right to the point here. Someone thinks you're stupid. I'm sorry to say it. I apologize for saying it, but someone thinks you're stupid. The secrecy, the speed, and the lack of transparency in pushing the Senate Bill 56 through without inviting a single opponent to the initial hearing lacks or reeks of influence, potentially from large out-of-state cultivators, level 1 cultivators, who want to hoard Ohio's cannabis industry for themselves. You heard from other people, the constriction of grow is going to be a problem. It's a blatant money grab by those who see profits over people and by those who would rather gut the competition rather than foster fair market participation. You were elected to represent Ohioans, not corporate interests, and yet SB 56 is being shoved through like voters can't read for themselves. The bill makes massive changes, slipping them under the guise of protecting children. Of course, we all want to protect the children. We have nothing wrong, nothing opposing that. But using that as cover to strip away the Ohio voters, they explicitly approved, that's deception at its finest. Ohio voters passed a general measure to allow for recreation cannabis. Some of you may not personally support cannabis use, and that's okay. You may have heard of the usual negative rhetoric, but no one nowhere has it been addicted to cannabis. You may be inclined to think that adding more restrictions through SB 56 is a responsible thing to do, but you actually know, do you actually know how much was stripped that the voters actually signed in or agreed to? So let's just take a quick look at, you heard from many people here today, but I'll also be really quick. SB 56 eliminates level 3, the adult use cultivator licenses. They were going to be up to 40 at 5,000 square feet. Just like that, dismissed as it's unimportant with a flagrant stroke of the pen. That, again, restricts supply. And SB 56 eliminates the Cannabis Social Equity and Jobs Program, which you've heard from other people. I won't go into that. And it also combines adult and medical marijuana licenses, which you've heard from other people on that. It eliminates the authority of the DCC to approve new forms of adult cannabis. So the DCC still gets to approve new medical forms for medical marijuana, but not adult use. Why? Who benefits from that restriction? And then we also heard about redirecting the tax revenues, going into a general fund. Kind of sounds like slush fund to me. And it also modifies the eligibility criteria for licensor. Translation, it tightens controls, further restricting access to new business owners. So, and also I want to talk about one other thing that was overheard in the State House halls, which is why I said my previous comment. Someone was overheard saying, a staffer, why are we wasting all this time on this DEI bullshit? Just cross it out, nobody cares. That's why I think someone thinks you're stupid. Someone thinks just crossing things out. Is this what happened here? Was level 3 licensing conflated with DEI and simply discarded? Do you think voters would agree with that? The public needs to know if level 3 was erased out of a misplaced spite, ignorance, or worse, because industry giants wanted it gone? We don't know. But let's be clear, we're not asking for unrestricted expansion. We're asking for fairness. Level 3 licenses could represent small, passionate craft growers, the innovators, ones that care about the environment, care about greater opportunities. And if level 1 growers were like large-scale commercial wineries producing bulk table wine, then level 3 growers are like boutique vineyards, handcrafting unique, high-level, high-quality vintage for the wine enthusiast. We want to provide cannabis with competition. So just like you might have a favorite wine or a favorite drink at your fancy restaurant, you might also have a different choice when you're watching the football game. We want to see some really good vintages coming out. So the loss of level 3 licenses mean consumers will be left with only mass market corporate cannabis, equivalent of drinking the same generic wine at every bar in every town forever. We like a little diversity in this. So Ohio also has the chance to become the gold standard where other states look to emulate. This is a great opportunity. I would just request that take SB 56 and shred it, or at the very least modify it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Suzak. Are there any questions for this witness? Nope, seeing none. James Powers will be the last opponent witness. And then we do have several interested party, including Colleen Gwezanek and Kiri McCarthy. So you guys will be up next. Welcome to committee, Mr. Powers. You may begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chairman, and everyone else here still present after this lengthy meeting. And also thank you everyone that showed up today to provide testimony. Myself, I'm James Powers. I'm a Stark County resident, a veteran, and a national advocate for alternative therapies. I'm a certified cannabis product specialist with extensive expertise in cannabis policy, patient advocacy, and market regulation. I've worked closely with industry experts, policymakers, and grassroots organizations to ensure that cannabis laws are both effective and aligned with voter intent. And unfortunately, I'm here today, which SB 56 does not in any way, shape, or form align with what 2.2 million voters approved in 2023. But here I am today to have to yet again come down here to the state. This is now my second testimony I've submitted to the state on different issues. Before it was veterans, disabled veterans like myself, begging the state to give us, like plenty of other states do, tax exemptions for our property taxes. That would be great for myself and plenty of other veterans that use medical cannabis so that we could actually afford it in our state. Because here in Ohio, like plenty of other people have already said here today, you can't afford it. You got to go up to the state up north, which I will absolutely categorically never do because it's the state up north. It's Michigan. I'm not messing with Michigan. That, and I am of the personal and professional belief that that state is a race to the bottom. The race to the absolute bottom for product quality and plenty of other things. But I'm an Ohioan, and I would love nothing more than to not feel like a criminal. I'm tired of feeling like a criminal after serving over a decade of service to this country, and in particular this state as a member of the Ohio Army National Guard. I'm tired of having to beg for things. All I want to do is live a peaceful life after having to fight one of war that this country, that this state sent me to fight. It's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. So, I mean, I, like everybody else, am here yet again to ask that, that the state respect the will of the voter, that they passed issue 2. Of course, we've passed plenty of other things where we've asked, the respect of the will of the voter, but that doesn't happen either. But we're here on SB 56, we're here on cannabis, and ultimately I think what it comes down to is something I said earlier in the hallway. More referring to myself when I testified in 2017 to the U.S. Senate and said that I was a federally unindicted co-conspirator because I was a medical cannabis patient in the state of Ohio. We're going to do it anyways. You guys are going to do whatever you guys see fit, whether the will of the voters say otherwise. And we as cannabis patients, we as underground cannabis legacy people like myself, having, again, been a federal felon in order to take my medicine, we're going to do it anyways. So with that, if you guys have any questions, great. Otherwise, I'm the last testimony of the day, and I'm sure plenty of people would like to go about that.
Mr. Powers, thank you for your service to our country. Thank you for your testimony. You are the last person I had as opponent testimony. We do have some others to give testimony, but are there any questions for this witness? No? All right, seeing none, thank you, sir. And before we get on to the interested party, let me just circle back. I had called on 2 names as people that wanted to give opponent testimony and they didn't respond, just to double check, make sure they're not here. John Pantelides and Fatty Botrimi. All right, we will accept both their testimonies as written. All right, moving on to interested or in-person interested party testimony. Colleen Gwezanek.
Thank you. I'd like to go as quickly as possible. I looked at this bill from a business point of view. I'm retired. I have spent decades helping other businesses grow, develop products, bring new products to the market. And when I looked at this bill, when I read it, and with that lens, right, I thought, wow, this is a kill bill. This is exactly what I would write if I wanted to kill an industry. First of all, let's, can we all agree that cannabis is here to stay, right? And by the way, in May 2024, you might know this, National Survey on Drug Use and Health, they published in the journal Addiction what we've been doing with cannabis and alcohol. 17.7 million people reported using marijuana daily or near daily in 2022, up from 1 million in 92. Alcohol also went up. It's huge. It's here to stay. So now we got to look at it as, all right, it's a business. What are we going to do to support this business? By the way, I want to make sure. Did I get this wrong? Did any level 1 testify?
Ma'am, excuse me, you need to address your comments to the committee. Thank
I don't
you.
want to say something out of turn. We heard from a lot of level 2s today, no level 1s. And I find that really interesting because it tells me, now I understand where this is coming from. It's coming from the level 1s, right? And if the level 1s get a hold of this market, and they will through this bill because you've killed the level 3s. As Margot said, the level 3s are where your craft grows are. This is where the small ones bring new, varied products to the business, or to the industry. So I took kind of the a quick framework for looking at this. This is Business 101, the 4 Ps, right? Product, price, promotion, and place. Easy to understand. When you look at the various provisions in this bill, it's amazing how many of those impact all 4 of those, all the 4 Ps. And many people have talked about it, but I'd just like to kind of emphasize some of the big ones. And it really is cutting the level 2s down, right? The amount of square footage or canopy square footage, getting rid of the level 3s. And again, someone please explain why they're getting rid of the level 3s. Is one of the things that I found really difficult to do about this process is there are many, many, many things in this bill, many, many provisions, but there's no rationalization. You know, and I find that crazy. Tell me why you're getting rid of the level 3s. Tell me why you're shrinking the level 2s in a very drastic way. And by the way, remember, the market's here. We already know millions of Ohioans are smoking marijuana every day. So what are we doing when we are driving up the costs? We're shrinking the canopies, right? We're, well, let's see what the excise tax. We're capping the number of dispensaries, right? That's the place, that's where it's sold. You start to put all these things together, and what it is it's an industry killer. And I get it. There are a lot of people that don't believe in legalized marijuana. And I look at this and I say, yep, what this bill is designed to do is to kill the industry. But here's the problem with the industry. It is legal. It isn't going to kill the industry. What it's going to do, and this is all about safety, it's going to send people to the black market, or it's going to keep them in the black market, or God forbid, it's going to send them up north, which the state up north, which they're already doing. So if you truly believe in public safety, do not pass this bill, because it will keep the business in the black market, drive what business has come out of the black market for which you are collecting taxes. It'll drive it back in, and basically it'll do exactly the opposite.
All right.
It will affect public safety.
Very good. Thank you for your testimony.
You're welcome.
Senator Demora.
Madam Chair, I don't have a question. I was just like, if we could refer to it as the illicit market and not the black market, that would be, if we could just do that, because I think its connotation otherwise is negative.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Very good. Thank you for your suggestion. Next witness is Carrie McCarthy.
Good afternoon. I am not Carrie McCarthy. I am Sarah Beal from the Ohio Mayor's Alliance, Carrie's colleague. And thank you for hanging in today, Senators. I am regretting some of my life choices, but submitted our testimony as interested party because we are a bipartisan coalition of mayors in Ohio's largest cities, and we represent mayors and communities who have vastly varying views on the substance of this bill. And so we're not taking a position on the substance. There's been plenty of testimony on that. We wanted to bring up 2 points in our testimony, and I'll be super brief. The 2 points are the things we're concerned about are maintaining and/or expanding the host community fund in the tax structure. We've had some conversations with Dr. Huffman and the governor's office, and I understand that those conversations are ongoing, and so I won't belabor it. It sounds like those messages are getting through, but I think the main point is that many communities across Ohio, both our members and other communities, elected to allow recreational marijuana businesses to locate in their communities because they were relying on the shared revenue from that host community fund. And so to eliminate it would break that trust with a lot of our local governments. And so we're strongly urging all of you to maintain the host community fund at a minimum of 36% of whatever the ultimate total state excise tax ends up being. And the other point that we wanted to bring, respecting the voters' intention of creating a recreational marijuana program as a statewide program that is consistently enforced and has consistent rules across the state, we wanted to suggest that there may be a good way to bring some local control back to some of our local governments in the form of a sort of something similar to the tobacco retail licenses, which I think were inadvertently eliminated from local control in the tobacco preemption bill last General Assembly. The idea that there might be a tobacco and recreational marijuana potential for retail license that's totally permissive, up to the individual local government to decide whether to impose additional fees or regulations within limits to help fund public safety, which, as we all know, is the largest expense in all Ohio cities, and something that I think we all agree could use some more resources. So those are our suggestions.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Beal. And your name is correct in the write-up, but just if I could ask you to see my staff afterwards, just to make sure that the witness slip aligns.
Absolutely.
Are there any questions for this witness? No? All right, seeing none, thank you. There were no other witness slips for in-person testimony that were received on time to my office. We do, however, have quite a few pieces of written testimony, so I would just refer the committee to their iPads where you'll see additional written testimony. Is there any discussion on this bill? All right, hearing none, this will conclude the second hearing for Senate Bill 56. I would like to note to the committee members and to the general public that I am canceling committee for tomorrow, so we will reconvene next week. Is there any additional business to be brought before the committee? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned.
All right, so we've just watched this testimony, and it's been a marathon, as you can see, and you know, they were ready to wrap it up pretty quick, so they didn't really want to just really talk about it very much. So, you know, make sure you share this video, hit the like, subscribe button. I thank all of y'all for watching tonight. I will see y'all on the next stream. Stay medicated, my friends. Peace.